Chapter 730. The Sixth Ice Wall. When I saw the first time stone, I felt so excited. Maybe I would have never been able to see him by my side. He gave me the first time stone, which made me feel very happy. However, I ended up losing the most beautiful thing in my life. If I could do it all over again, I would not have taken the time stone. I would have stood by his side, even for a moment. If there was an afterlife, I would have told him about it. I would have told him about the wanderer who held me for months, carried me on his back for years, and saved me with his life. My name is Yuqing, and I come from Culmination Starlands Clan's Corner City. My name is a homonym of Shinchinyu's name. Maybe I also have something to be proud of. Others would accompany me until the seas run dry and the rocks crumble. But in the Sea of Twilight, I accompanied him until the end of my life. The Second Ice Wall. When he asked me why there was no thunder tribulation in the celestial Shatterer realm, I no longer guarded against him. Compared to his hardships, it was as if I was soaking in honey while cultivating. Unexpectedly, there was still a cultivator who did not know that there was no thunder tribulation in the celestial Shatterer realm. In the distance, a time wheel streaked across, sweeping the originally flat ice crystal plain even smoother. In this place, any protruding object would be swept away by the time wheel. I will never forget the scene of standing side by side with him at the edge of the dawn, watching the distant sunset. Perhaps, that was the happiest day of my life. We passed through the dusk and stood above the dawn, but that happiness no longer existed. The 10th ice wall, it was cold and contained nothing. Only now did I understand that he had deliberately left that time stone for me. Even the time stones that I picked up later were all left for me by him. He is a wanderer who I do not understand. He does not have the greed of a starry sky cultivator. Instead, he has a heart of his own. He saved me and never asked for anything else. Even if I were alive, I would never meet such a person again. Ning Qing gave out a sigh. He really could not understand what Shinchinyu was thinking, to come back here to find him. It was simply an unreasonable thing. Did he and Shinchinyu know each other? Ning Qing suddenly frowned. He suddenly thought that he and Shinchinyu were very familiar with each other. I hated myself for not being able to see through him when he said, "Between heaven and earth, life is like a white colt passing by, it's all in a blink of an eye." When I finally saw through him, he was already gone. A short life was really like a white steed passing by. If you missed it, then you missed it. It would never come back. At that moment, I felt a sense of pity. No, it should be something that was hard to describe. My nose even felt a little sour. I had never thought that I would have such tender feelings. Perhaps when I let him see my face, I planted a seed in him. Ning Qing stopped in front of the first ice wall and spoke, "I don't think I would be able to climb it. I never thought that I would be able to walk this far, but I was just a little bit away from it. Unfortunately, that little bit was still too far away. But I don't regret it. If I could do it again, I would still come back. Otherwise, my heart would never be at peace." Just as he was about to move on, his spiritual consciousness swept out and found some words on the ice wall. Ning Qing immediately had a bad premonition and immediately flew down into the ice valley. I regretted that I had started the epiphany while on his back. If I had not started the epiphany, I would have continued to feel that kind of spaciousness and peace of mind. In order to understand the laws of time, I had lost my most precious thing. If I could do it again, I would not try to comprehend it during his epiphany. I would rather be a simple woman and let him carry me again. The third ice wall. He did not know that we could not fly in the Sea of Twilight. As a result, the time whirlpool sucked us into the depths of the Sea of Twilight. I do not blame him. He pulled me along with him for a few months. If not for him, I would have died in the Sea of Twilight. Although he encouraged me again and again, I really could not walk anymore. I let him see my face, and I even wanted him to stay with me to spend the last few years of my life with me. However, he thought of another person. I think that person should be a very important person to him. Seeing the beautiful morning glow in the distance, Ningqing felt a little worried. He feared that Shen Qinyu would not be able to reach this place. Although Shen Qinyu had come here with him once, it was all because of him. If he were not there, could Shen Qinyu have an epiphany in the depths of the Sea of Twilight and then pass through the dusk? The seventh ice wall. The first time I came here, I felt very cold. It was him who carried me in, which made me feel very at ease. This time, when I came to the ice crystal forest again, I still felt very cold. However, I no longer have that warm and broad shoulder to carry me to help me block the cold. Even if he did not speak much to Shen Qinyu, he had held Shen Qinyu's hand and walked through the Sea of Twilight for a few months, and then carried Shen Qinyu for a few years. He could not be any clearer about Shen Qinyu's aura. Even the touch of every part of her body, every inch of her appearance, even her breathing, he was very familiar with it. This kind of cold, for the current him, even if he did not operate his cultivation method, could not hurt him at all. However, if Shen Qinyu came here, she would die without a doubt. No, Ningqing, who had just woken up from the panic, felt that something was wrong with the 10th ice wall. Sure enough, he saw a concealment array disc. Putting away the concealment array disc, a small space appeared in front of him. Ningqing felt his heart tremble. He had never experienced such a feeling before. It felt like a huge ice stone stirring in the depths of his heart, making him feel depressed and sad. It felt as if the softest part of his heart had frozen to pieces. Ningqing looked back at the endless plain of ice crystals. He had once brought Shen Qinyu through this plain of ice crystals. The 9th ice wall. I finally can't hold on anymore. This place is very cold, and I am also very cold. I have to go. I can't die together with him after all. Fortunately, I finally reached the place closest to him. Maybe I can feel a bit more at ease. Ningqing took in a deep breath and swept out with his spiritual consciousness, only to find an ice wall. He breathed a sigh of relief and did not see Shen Qinyu. In this kind of cold place, if Shen Qinyu fell into it, she would definitely die. Maybe I will die soon. Since I can reach this place, I should be the closest to him. Unfortunately, it's just a little bit away. If I could, I would rather go a little further, then jump into that canyon and die together with him. The 4th ice wall. That day, I thought I was dead. When I opened my eyes, I found myself on his back. He did not give up on me. Even if I was a burden, he still carried me on his back and ran through the Sea of Twilight. Those shoulders were really broad, and I had a longing in my heart. If I could lean on those shoulders again, I would really feel satisfied. His gaze shifted to the simple ice sculpture. He could only see the outline of the ice sculpture, which vaguely depicted his appearance as wanderer. Ningqing quickly passed through the plain of ice crystals and arrived at the even colder ice crystal forest. The bone-chilling cold pressed down on him, causing Ningqing's heart to sink. I told him that I'm sorry, but you will have to walk alone in the future. However, I was actually thinking about who the woman he thought of when he looked at me was. If this had happened before, I would not have believed it at all. I vaguely remember his words. It seems that if we don't go, there will be no hope. But if we continue, maybe we can get out of this place one day. Being with him, it seems that there will always be hope. But today, I am the only one here. After entering the ice crystal forest for a few dozen feet, a strong sense of sadness overwhelmed him, causing Ningqing to subconsciously stop. He swept out with his divine sense and soon saw a collapsed ice valley a few dozen meters away from him. The mask on Yuqing's face had long since disappeared. She wore a beautiful cyan robe and leaned against an ice sculpture. Her unparalleled beautiful face was pale. Digging those ice steps is too difficult. It's time to get out of the valley, but I am still far away from the bottom. I have to go out and give the time stones to them. I don't like to owe others, even if it's my family. After giving the time stones, I chose to come back here again. I feel calm in my heart. Even if I fall, my heart has already fallen here. I have no way to do things that have nothing to do with this. There is no other way. Nothing, no one, can stop my impulses. Rows of clear and graceful handwriting appeared in front of his eyes. The familiar aura made Ningqing 100% sure that this was carved by Shinqinyu. The fifth ice wall. Today, I crossed the sea of twilight again. I just wanted to find him. When I first came in, I didn't think much about it. I just wanted to find him. I didn't even think about what would happen after I found him. After coming here, I realized that without him, I would never be able to live happily again. Yuqing, where did Yuqing go? Ningqing felt an impulse in his heart. He wanted to use all his essence, blood and lifespan to perform a time reincarnation, returning time to the time before Yuqing entered this place. He wanted to find Yuqing on the way to Culmination Starland and tell her everything. He found that he couldn't bear this kind of emotion at all. He just did what he thought he should do. I'm sorry. Ningqing walked forward with blurred eyes and carefully picked up Yuqing. I always thought of myself as a rational person, but at that moment, I had the urge to rush down and save him. I didn't teleport away. Instead, I dug one ice step after another in the ice valley. I always thought that maybe one day, I could dig the ice steps to the bottom of the valley and find him. Ningqing's heart sank completely. Yuqing did not have any signs of life. He didn't know how long she had fallen. Some of the ice flowers fell on Yuqing's black hair and eyelashes, looking like white pearl flowers, which made her look even more miserable. If Shinqinyu couldn't come here, then even he wouldn't be able to find Shinqinyu in the boundless sea of twilight, which also had restrictions on his spiritual consciousness. Chapter 731. Ningqing hugged Yuqing's ice-cold body and stood still. He had thought that Yuqing might have fallen in the time wilderness, but he never thought that it would be like this. She had not even reached the cracked canyon when she fell in the ice crystal forest. No matter what he thought, Yuqing had fallen because of him. He could no longer erase Yuqing's shadow from his memory. He had never seen such a persistent woman, one whose pure eyes could not allow even a speck of dust to seep into them. Maybe it was because she felt that she owed him, or maybe it was just as she said. After entering the time wilderness, she truly fell in love with Wanderer. Ningqing did not know how she survived the last period when she fell into this ice cave alone. Was it the icy coldness that accompanied her, or was it the longing for Wanderer? Thinking of Yuqing carving an ice wall and an ice statue for him alone, Ningqing's eyes turned moist for the first time for a woman he was not familiar with before. Maybe he did not feel sorry for Yuqing, but he just could not get rid of the guilt and sadness in his heart. He was about to stand at the top of the starry skies, and he was about to become one of the strongest people in this part of the universe. He still had 7 emotions and 6 desires, and he still could not look at life and death with a calm expression. No matter what position Ningqing stood in, he still had the heart of a mortal. A bolt of lightning flashed through his mind, and Ningqing seemed to have a kind of enlightenment in his heart. It was just that this enlightenment was fleeting, and he could not grasp it at all. Yuqing, I. Ningqing lowered his head, and 2 drops of tears fell onto Yuqing's body. He finally could not control the sadness in his heart. It had nothing to do with love, it was something that could not be expressed in words. Was it sadness, nostalgia, reluctance? Or maybe it was none of these, but a seed that had begun to germinate. A faint ray of light flashed, causing Ningqing to look at Yuqing in his arms with incomparable shock. After the 2 drops of tears fell onto Yuqing, Yuqing's body gradually disappeared. It was a forbidden technique, Ningqing suddenly understood. This forbidden technique was cast in front of the deceased. Once the deceased's body was touched, some of the celestial essence hidden within the body would burn their body into nothingness. When Ningqing first saw Yuqing's body, he did not notice the celestial essence hidden within Yuqing's body. In just a few breaths of time, Yuqing's body vanished into thin air, leaving behind only a green dress. Ningqing stared blankly at the blue robe that he was holding in his hands, as an endless emptiness welled up in his heart. He didn't stop Yuqing's transformation. This was her choice. He believed that Yuqing wouldn't want anyone to stop her transformation. Before this moment, he was still thinking that maybe one day, he would be able to recover Yu Qing's soul, just like how he still could not save Sun Hanrui. As long as he found Yu Qing's soul, he would definitely find a way to help Yu Qing come back to life. While this thought was still lingering in her mind, Yu Qing had already corroded her body. A purple half-moon-shaped jade talisman fell into the palm of Ning Cheng's hand. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness trembled as it fell onto the purple moon-shaped jade talisman. There were some faint words engraved on the surface of the purple moon-shaped jade talisman. I want to stay here with Wanderer forever. I really don't want anyone to disturb me. Unfortunately, someone still managed to disturb me. My body can no longer be touched by others. If anyone touches me, I will immediately corrode into nothingness. I don't blame you. You did it unintentionally. If you want, please help me send this half-moon-shaped jade talisman to Culmination Starlands Clan Corner City. My mother, Shen Mengyan, will definitely feel grateful. If you have any requests, just mention it to Clan Corner City. They will definitely satisfy you. Yu Qing. Ning Qing gave out a long sigh. Yu Qing should have used her last bit of vitality to restore her appearance to its most beautiful state. She even turned her white hair black, perhaps for the sake of the persistence in her heart. He wanted Yu Qing to fall here, and then let Yu Qing corrode into nothingness. The pain he felt in his heart couldn't be expressed in words. After a long time, Ning Qing took out a jade box and put the jade talisman inside. He then put Yu Qing's blue dress into another jade box and sealed it with restrictions. After doing all this, Ning Cheng's mood turned sour to the extreme. It wasn't until 3 days later that Ning Qing started arranging array formations. He wanted to take this entire canyon into his true spirit world and bring it out of the time wilderness. Every piece of ice wall here was his most precious possession. At the same time, he wanted to completely seal off this place so that no one would ever come to this place again. Unfortunately, his cultivation was still too low, otherwise, he could have even taken away the time wilderness. As a few days passed by, Ning Cheng's array formation rolled up the ice valley, just like a long ice vein, as Ning Cheng dragged it along. The entire ice crystal forest erupted with roaring sounds as Ning Cheng sent the 10 ice walls of the ice canyon into his true spirit world. Although his cultivation had been suppressed, his attainments in the Tao of array formations remained, along with his powerful corporeal body. Things that other celestial gatherer cultivators couldn't accomplish were not difficult for him. The roaring sounds continued and spread out more and more. Even after Ning Cheng sent away the entire ice canyon, the entire ice crystal canyon started to rumble. Kaka, rumbling sounds continued to spread out from under his feet, as if the entire ground would explode at any moment. Ning Cheng flew over the ice crystal forest and saw that the entire ice crystal forest had indeed started to crack. Apparently, it was caused by him taking away a large part of the ice canyon. The more Ning Cheng looked at it, the more frightened he felt. Maybe in just a few moments, this ice crystal forest would completely collapse. He suddenly remembered the steps of life, which was another thing left behind by Yu Qing. In case this place collapsed on a large scale, maybe even the steps of life would be destroyed. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng quickly left the ice crystal forest and wanted to rush into the glacial canyon that cracked open in front of the transmission array. He wanted to send the steps of life into the true spirit world through the array formation, just like before. When Ning Cheng arrived at the place where he had fallen, the glacial canyon that had cracked open previously had already disappeared. In front of him, there was only a single transmission array. Ning Cheng deliberately walked to the crack and stepped on it with his foot. It seemed to be empty, but it did not crack open at all. His spiritual consciousness penetrated it, but it could not reach too deep. The ice rock under his feet was extremely thick. Ning Cheng felt a little worried that if he forcibly blasted open this ice rock, it would cause the same kind of collapse as the ice crystal forest. At that time, the steps of ice carved by him and Yu Qing would truly disappear. Even when he separated from Yu Qing, Ning Cheng did not think about what would happen between him and Yu Qing in the future. After experiencing these things, Yu Qing completely disappeared, causing Ning Cheng to feel even more sentimental in his heart. He did not want the things left behind by Yu Qing to disappear. Currently, he did not have the ability to take away the steps of life. But in the future, when he had the ability, he would definitely come back here to take away the steps of life. The rumbling sounds behind him gradually subsided. When Ning Qing once again looked back, he was shocked to find that the ice crystal forest had not completely collapsed. Instead, there was an incomparably wide inclined passage above the ice crystal forest. This passage was completely composed of pure ice. Inside this passage, one after another, an aura of vicissitude seeped out, along with a mysterious and incomparably mysterious aura of time. Ning Qing landed on the sloping ice crystal passage and swept his gaze inside. There was only a vast expanse of whiteness inside. Even if his spiritual consciousness could reach the end, it would still be a vast expanse of whiteness. Regardless of whether there were any dangers inside, Ning Qing did not think too much about it and quickly entered the sloping passage. This sloping ice passage was very long, and unlike the other passages, the further down one went, the wider the passage became. The icy cold on both sides of the passage permeated over one after another, just like the waves in the sea, constantly crashing into Ning Cheng's body. With Ning Cheng's powerful body-forging corporeal body, he did not even need to circulate his celestial essence to resist. The icy cold just hit his body and dissipated without a trace. Half an hour later, Ning Qing finally stopped. At the end of the sloping passage, there was a huge ice crystal door in front of him. Ning Qing rarely saw a triangular-shaped door, but he saw it today. This door was not only triangular in shape, but the three corners also had different colors. The uppermost corner was gray, the left corner was black, and the right corner was white. Each corner had a large keyhole, and these three keyholes exuded an aura of time, causing people to tremble involuntarily. Temple of Time. Ning Qing looked at the triangular door and muttered to himself in shock. He felt sure that this was the Temple of Time. With three keyholes of black, white and gray, and also exuding an aura of time, if this was not the Temple of Time, then what was it? Ning Qing had just said the three words Temple of Time, when three vague words appeared in the middle of the triangular door. That's right, it was the Temple of Time. Ning Qing never expected that the Temple of Time would be under the Sea of Twilight's ice crystal forest. He had thought that the Temple of Time was just like the Perpetual Moon Fort, a place within the time wilderness. According to the distance he had walked and the direction he was heading, plus the entrance to the Temple of Time, Ning Qing inferred that the true main hall of the Temple of Time should be under the endless ice crystal plain. Time wheels covered the ice crystal plain. If the range of one's spiritual consciousness was too small, or if one didn't have spiritual consciousness, one wouldn't be able to stay on the ice crystal plane for long, let alone open the ice crystal plane to find the Temple of Time. Although he found the Temple of Time, it was a pity that he only had 2 keys. How could he enter the Temple of Time? Ning Qing carefully looked around the Temple of Time's entrance and made sure that there were no restrictions around it. Can I not use the keys? After hesitating for a while, Ning Qing decided to give it a try. After all, this was just a solid ice crystal door without any array formations. If it didn't work, he wouldn't lose anything. Thinking of this, Ning Qing directly brought out his Nirvana spear, aimed it at the Temple of Time's entrance, and shot it down. Chapter 732. Boom. After the Nirvana spear struck the ice crystal door, a loud explosion erupted. The terrifying flow of time swept over, and just the aftermath of the flow of time caused Ning Cheng's hair to turn white in an instant. Ning Qing did not dare to continue to stay outside, and did not hesitate to enter the mysterious yellow bead. The flow of time was blocked by the mysterious yellow bead and could no longer affect Ning Qing in the slightest. So powerful. After a good while, Ning Qing exclaimed to himself. Just the shockwaves from the passage of time caused his hair to turn white in an instant, and his lifespan to shrink by an immeasurable amount. If he was truly swept away by the flow of time, he probably wouldn't even have the ability to resist and would have already died of old age. What a terrifying Temple of Time, but even more terrifying was the Perpetual Moon Holy Emperor. How strong was the powerhouse who could build such a terrifying law of time like the Temple of Time? In other words, just how strong was he? Perhaps if he faced the perpetual moon holy emperor, the other party would only need to raise his hand and cast time elapse to turn him into ashes. It stood to reason that a powerhouse like the perpetual moon holy emperor should have stood at the peak of the universe. In reality, this kind of person would still be killed by others. How powerful was that fellow who killed the perpetual moon holy emperor? Ning Qing took in a deep breath. For a while, after killing eternal cultivators, he truly thought that he wasn't much worse than eternal cultivators. Today, when he saw the handiwork of the perpetual moon holy emperor, he finally understood what a true powerhouse was. If even someone as powerful as the perpetual moon holy emperor could be killed, then how strong would a true powerhouse be? The ignorant are fearless. After a long time, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out again and found that the aftermath of the passage of time outside had completely disappeared. He then came out of the mysterious yellow bead and stood outside the gate of the Temple of Time. If he did not have the mysterious yellow bead, that spear would have taken his life. Although the Temple of Time contained many rare treasures, these things were not easy to obtain. Without the 3 keys to the Temple of Time, Ning Qing felt sure that even if Ten Chuan Xinlo stood in front of him, he wouldn't be able to do anything. This time, Ning Qing did not stop for long, and resolutely turned around and left. As long as he and Duan Gantai didn't come here at the same time, it wouldn't matter who came here. As for finding Duan Gantai, he wasn't in a hurry. Once the matters in the mysterious yellow celestial river were over, he would head to Culmination Starlands Yuclan's corner city to take a look. Since both the mysterious yellow celestial river and the mysterious yellow sect came out, if Luofei and Qianghua heard it, it wouldn't be difficult for them to learn his name. After reaching the outside of the Sea of Twilight through the transfer array, Ning Qing took the initiative to crush the Jade Talisman. As soon as the Jade Talisman shattered, Ning Qing instantly teleported to the starry skies outside the Time Wilderness. Ning Qing had come to this place once before, which was the periphery of Striking Order Star Land. Ning Qing didn't plan to go to Lucky Heaven City to catch up with Striking Order. He had many things to take care of in the mysterious yellow celestial river, and he wanted to go back and settle down. However, just as he was about to bring out the starry sky wheel, a cultivator in the celestial bridge realm quickly flew over. After the cultivator saw Ning Qing, he quickly bowed and said, "Sang Yuanshan greets Senior Ning." Ning Qing looked at this celestial bridge cultivator in doubt. "Did you deliberately wait for me here?" Sang Yuanshan said respectfully once again, "Yes, this junior has been ordered by the great emperor to await senior respectfully." Ning Qing nodded. Most likely, Striking Order Heavenly Emperor feared that he would enter the Time Wilderness on his own, so he decided to wait here. Striking Order knew that once he entered the Time Wilderness, he would immediately teleport out. Moreover, the teleportation location would be in the vicinity of this place. "Alright, you can go first. I'll also go to Lucky Heaven City to see Brother Striking Order." Since Striking Order Heavenly Emperor had sent someone to greet him, if he didn't go, Striking Order Heavenly Emperor would definitely overthink things. Ning Qing decided to visit Striking Order Heavenly Emperor on the way. Yes, this junior will take his leave. Sang Yuanshan tactfully bowed and retreated. Lucky Heaven City remained the same. After so many years, when Ning Qing came here again, he felt very emotional. When he first came here, he was still a celestial novice cultivator and had to look at the faces of others. At that time, Striking Order Heavenly Emperor had killed many cultivators fighting in Lucky Heaven City with just a raise of his hand, killing Distant Star Celestial River King and Essence Continent Celestial River King. The shock he felt back then, however, now seemed ordinary. As long as one's cultivation reached the required level, it would not mean anything. Today, when he came here again, he needed Striking Order Heavenly Emperor to come out and greet him. Entering Lucky Heaven City, Ning Qing stood at the entrance of a rest stop and remained silent for a long time. The first time he came here, Su Binglan had stopped him, and Yu Qing had come out to help him. The rest stop was still the same rest stop, but the people from that time had never returned. Hee, this little big brother, we really are fated to meet again in a blink of an eye. You're not waiting for your lover here, little brother Ning Qing, are you? A frivolous and familiar voice arrived. The change from little big brother to little brother seemed very normal in her mouth. Ning Cheng looked back and saw two familiar faces. Back then, he had only seen one familiar face, but today, he saw two familiar girls who looked very similar. The girl on the left looked like a porcelain doll. Not only was she beautiful, but her skin was also very white. She also had a pair of bright black eyes that blinked. She had an innocent and pure appearance that made people want to approach her. The girl on the right looked a lot more mature and had the same pure and beautiful appearance. However, Ning Cheng knew very well that neither of these two women was pure. Moreover, the girl on the right looked even more mature, while the naive girl on the left was the ancestor of the girl on the right. He knew both of these women. The woman on the left was Su Binglan, and the woman on the right was Su Yingde. Su Binglan founded the Severing Emotions Dao sect, a disgusting sect, while Su Anjin and Su Yingde carried it forward. It was a sect of perverted women that no one could understand. Ning Cheng's gaze fell on Su Binglan's face and did not speak for a long time. Yu Qing once again appeared in front of his eyes. He had first seen Su Binglan in this place. Because Su Binglan and Su Yingde looked too similar, Su Binglan almost found an excuse when he was in a daze. It was Yu Qing who helped him out. Replying to Senior, he is my friend Ning Cheng. We made an appointment to meet here. The place was still the same, and the people were still the same, but Yu Qing was missing. Why wasn't Su Binglan missing? Su Yingde also did not expect to see Ning Cheng here. This was the person she had chosen to sever her emotions, and also the man she later destroyed with her own hands. However, this man did not die and was still alive. Moreover, he even came to the starry skies and seemed to know her great-grandmother Su Binglan. No one knew that she had truly fallen in love with Ning Cheng. If not for Yin Kongchan suddenly breaking in that morning, she would have already become Ning Cheng's woman. If she had become Ning Cheng's woman, then she would not have severed her emotions towards Ning Cheng. It's just that there was no if in this world. Everything was destined. She stared at Ning Cheng in a daze, the man she once loved, the man she successfully severed her emotions with. In the Severing Emotions Dao sect, a man who had severed his emotions was still alive. Moreover, he was still so strong that he even came to the starry skies. Ning Cheng was perhaps the first, perhaps the only one. No one knew that when she learned that Ning Cheng and her master Shi Qianghua had become Dao companions, she felt the hatred and bitterness in her heart. Her man could be under her, he could die, but he could never be hugged by another woman. Little Dai, do you know him? Since Su Binglan could enter the void and found a sect, how could she be a simple person? When she saw Su Yingde's eyes, she immediately understood that Su Yingde knew Ning Cheng. Su Yingde spoke up with a dry voice, yes, he is the person I severed my emotions with. Oh, you already have my Su clan's woman, yet you still dare to date other wild women. You really are something. Su Binglan raised her eyebrows, and a trace of anger appeared on her porcelain doll-like face. Ning Cheng's tone suddenly turned cold. Su Binglan, originally I only had a grudge against Su Yingde. If you dare to say even half a word of disrespect to her, this father wouldn't mind turning you into ashes. I, Su Binglan, would like to see how you turn me into ashes. Believe it or not, if I kill you in Lucky Heaven City, nothing will happen to me. While speaking, Su Binglan's murderous aura overflowed, just like a blade that was about to explode. Ning Cheng felt speechless. Su Binglan originally had a celestial bridge cultivation, but now she had advanced to the undead realm. Presumably, in her opinion, killing an ant like him would only take a matter of minutes. Sister Lan. Don't kill him. Su Yingde anxiously stopped Su Binglan. Su Binglan looked at Su Yingde in astonishment, why don't you kill him? This man didn't die even after you severed your emotions. I don't mind if you take pity on him. It's just that this kid dared to date another woman, and even protected another woman. Sister Lan. Ning Cheng looked at Su Binglan and Su Yingde in disbelief. How could these two people call each other Sister Lan? Ning Cheng, let's talk alone. I have a few words to say to you. Su Yingde looked at Ning Cheng and spoke softly. Ning Cheng glanced at Su Yingde with disdain and spoke up calmly, perverted sects really only produce perverted women. And courting death. Su Binglan's murderous aura once again burst out. However, her murderous aura and domain did not press down on Ning Cheng. Instead, she suddenly retracted it. A moment later, she put on a soft smile and took a few steps forward before speaking. Heavenly Emperor, how come you have time to come out? She saw Striking Order Heavenly Emperor rushing over. In any case, she had to meet Striking Order Heavenly Emperor first. Striking Order Heavenly Emperor apparently saw that she wanted to deal with Ning Cheng. Therefore, his face sank and he raised his hand and slapped Su Binglan's face. Get lost. Sect Master Ning is my most honored guest. How dare a woman like you disrespect Sect Master Ning? If you don't apologize to Sect Master Ning immediately, you can go and kill yourself. Striking Order Heavenly Emperor's words were incomparably decisive and contained a hint of chill. Ning Cheng sighed in his heart. He could see that Striking Order Heavenly Emperor treated Su Binglan very well. Otherwise, Striking Order Heavenly Emperor would have already killed Su Binglan. Why would he slap Su Binglan and ask her to apologize to him? Su Binglan and Su Yingde froze at the same time. They never expected that Striking Order Heavenly Emperor would attach so much importance to Ning Cheng. Moreover, he even said that he was the most honored guest. Striking Order Heavenly Emperor obviously came out to greet him personally. What was going on? Chapter 733. Su Binglan's reaction was much faster than Su Yingde's. Regardless of Striking Order Heavenly Emperor's slap, Su Binglan immediately came up to Ning Cheng and gave him a respectful bow. Binglan's words were too heavy. I ask Big Brother Ning to forgive me. This ice orchid is willing to accept any punishment. Even if Big Brother Ning asks this ice orchid to die, this ice orchid will not hesitate for even half a moment. By the time she finished speaking, her face was already filled with endless regret and panic. Coupled with her beautiful and innocent appearance, it really made people feel pity for her. After she apologized to Ning Cheng, she didn't stop there. Instead, she turned to Striking Order Heavenly Emperor and bowed while sobbing. Binglan has disgraced Heavenly Emperor. Please punish her, Heavenly Emperor. Because Big Brother Ning was once Little Butterfly's Dao companion, when I saw Big Brother Ning, I felt too anxious and wanted to stop him from taking responsibility for Little Butterfly, so. Ning Cheng was speechless. This woman really did not have even half a shred of shame in her heart. However, he also knew that he could not do anything to Su Yingde. He and Striking Order were currently in their honeymoon period. At this time, even if Striking Order did not speak to Su Yingde, it would still be equivalent to slapping Striking Order's face. With Striking Order's attitude towards him, if an ordinary woman dared to treat him in such a manner, Striking Order would have long since killed her. He wouldn't have slapped her and made Su Binglan apologize. From this, one could see that Striking Order Heavenly Emperor cared a lot about this Su Binglan. The mysterious yellow celestial river had just started to develop. Therefore, not only did Striking Order need him as an ally, but he also needed Striking Order as an ally. When Striking Order heard Su Binglan's words, his eyes immediately lit up. He and Su Binglan had an affair. If Su Binglan's younger sister, Su Yingde, and Ning Cheng got together, wouldn't that make their relationship even closer? Seeing that Striking Order wanted to speak, Ning Cheng understood what he wanted to say. So, he stopped in front of him and said, Brother Striking Order, let's go inside and talk. His thoughts were the same as Striking Order's. He didn't want the two of them to have any suspicions because of other things. If he rejected Striking Order Heavenly Emperor's proposal, in any case, Striking Order would definitely have some thoughts in his heart. Now, it was better for him to refuse before Striking Order brought up this matter than to refuse after it was brought up. As a great emperor, it wasn't a big deal for him to play with a little girl. Moreover, playing with this girl could increase the friendship between everyone. What did he mean by refusing? It's just that Striking Order didn't understand Ning Cheng. Striking Order Heavenly Emperor had controlled Striking Order's starry sky for many years. Therefore, as soon as Ning Qing spoke those words, he understood that Ning Qing didn't have any thoughts about Su Yingde. He did not mention it again, and just laughed and said, "Yes, yes, let's go inside and talk, Brother Ning please." After saying that, Striking Order Heavenly Emperor took the lead and personally led Ning Qing inside. "Little Dai, what's going on?" Su Binglan looked at Ning Qing and Striking Order Heavenly Emperor's backs and asked in shock. "I also do not know." Su Yingde was also completely at a loss, she also did not know what was going on. Even if Ning Qing grew more powerful, he wouldn't call someone like Striking Order Heavenly Emperor a brother, right? Su Binglan's expression turned dignified, as she pulled Su Yingde to a remote place and asked again, "What is the origin of this Ning Qing? Don't you know anything about it?" Su Yingde hesitated for a moment before speaking. He is somewhat mysterious, and has always been very strong. In the Forsaken Land, both my and Yin Kongchan's cultivations were sealed, and even our spiritual consciousness could not stretch out, but he could. He always has some means in times of danger, but I can't see through these means at all. After Su Binglan listened to Su Yingde's words, she frowned and spoke up after a while, "This kid definitely has a big secret on him. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to call Striking Order Heavenly Emperor a brother." Strange, Striking Order Heavenly Emperor did not use forceful means to search for him, but instead used this method. Su Binglan spoke to herself, but after a moment, she raised her head and stared at Su Yingde before speaking with a trembling voice. "Striking Order is definitely not a soft-hearted person, nor is he a person who is swayed by emotions. For him to treat that Ning Qing like this, the only possibility is..." Su Yingde understood Su Binglan's meaning and spoke up in disbelief, This is unlikely. How long has he been in the starry sky? What's unlikely about it? I know that old lecher Striking Order too well. If not for me pleasing him in bed, that son of a bitch would have already killed me today. For him to treat Ning Qing with such an attitude, the only possibility is that Ning Qing's strength is no less than his. In such a short time, to possess strength no less than Striking Order, this Ning Qing is just too terrifying. The more Su Binglan spoke, the brighter the light in her eyes grew. Su Yingde recalled Ning Qing's strength in the graceful star mainland and somewhat believed in her great-grandmother's speculations. She murmured, "It is indeed possible." When he was in the graceful star mainland, he was already incomparably strong. Not only did he destroy a major faction, but he also strengthened the Rainbow Fall Sword sect. He even dared to kill his way into the Severing Emotions Dao sect and challenged the Heaven Alliance. In the end, no one dared to stand in his way. You said that he even killed his way into my Severing Emotions Dao sect? Su Binglan looked at Su Yingde in amazement. Su Yingde could no longer hide it and spoke, "Yes, he killed his way into the Severing Emotions Dao sect and even managed to retreat. The cause of this matter was her, Su Yingde." At that time, she had truly fallen in love with Ning Qing, to the point that she even wanted to give up her life to Ning Qing. If she had not left the Forsaken Land, she believed that she and Ning Qing would have already become husband and wife. Unfortunately, she and Ning Qing ultimately lacked some fate. When she was about to form a body with Ning Qing, Yin Kongchan had interrupted her. After the three of them left the Forsaken Land, her cultivation method allowed her to sever her emotions without hesitation. She did not speak about this matter because after she successfully severed her emotions, she no longer wanted to kill Ning Qing. You really are stupid to the extreme, such a person, why would you want to sever your emotions on him? You should have caught him. If you had caught him, would we be in such a miserable state now? I took off my clothes to sleep with him, using all kinds of means to please him, but what was the result? If he wanted to slap me, I would have to apologize. Su Binglan's tone turned even more unfriendly. Su Yingde spoke up in a weak voice, I am at the critical point of severing my emotions. If I do not sever my emotions, it would be difficult for me to advance even an inch, I might even lose my virginity to him. Bah, severing your emotions, severing your fart, you already have a good man, are you still afraid of not having a better cultivation method? Su Binglan spat out a few times, before speaking up in a depressed voice. Su Yingde spoke in her heart, wasn't this cultivation method left behind by you? However, how could she dare to talk back? Su Binglan remained angry for a long time before she suddenly spoke, "Little Dai, if you go and continue your fate with him, maybe he will." Su Yingde did not wait for Su Binglan to finish her words, before she shook her head and vetoed, "Impossible, I have some understanding of him, he is amenable to coaxing but not coercion. For a woman who betrays him, he would never take it to heart. If it weren't for me using my life to protect him several times, even if I took off my clothes and stood next to him, he would not be tempted." Su Binglan grabbed Su Yingde's hand and spoke up eagerly, "It doesn't matter, I will teach you some moves that will make this little man unable to stop himself. You see striking order, that arrogant person, wasn't he also captured under me? Otherwise, he might have killed me today." Su Yingde just shook her head and did not speak. She suddenly felt some hatred towards Yin Kongchan. If not for Yin Kongchan, she would have already become Ning Cheng's woman. Su Binglan, seeing Su Yingde not speaking, spoke up with even more enthusiasm, "Why don't I accompany him first? I don't believe that he would remain indifferent to my means." "Ah." Su Yingde looked at Su Binglan in shock. She could not believe that Su Binglan would say such a thing. Did the Severing Emotions Tao sect have no shame? Seeing Su Binglan still wanting to say something, Su Yingde firmly shook her head. Maybe if she went on, Su Binglan would say even more outrageous words. "I'd rather die than do this." Su Binglan could see Su Yingde's determination, and the fanatical look on her face disappeared. She gave out a sigh and spoke, "In that case, we will have to leave. If we continue to stay in Striking Order Star Land, it would truly be a dead end. Striking Order Heavenly Emperor is ruthless and merciless. Although he did not kill me now, he will definitely kill us in the future to please that surnamed Ning. When our cultivation reaches the eternal realm in the future, we can then come back and talk about revenge." Su Yingde looked in the direction Ning Cheng left in and murmured after a long time, "Let's go." She understood Su Binglan's words. If the two of them did not leave, they would definitely face death. For a person like Striking Order Heavenly Emperor, killing them would be as simple as pinching an ant. Striking Order Heavenly Emperor's residence was much simpler compared to Leveled Heart Emperor Mountain. He helped Ning Cheng pour a cup of spiritual tea and spoke up with an apologetic tone, "Brother Ning, I have some connections with that Su Binglan. She should be worried that I would find trouble with her, so she left the city. I don't think she will come back again, alas." After Striking Order Heavenly Emperor finished this sentence, he sighed and continued, "Brother Ning, please give me some face and don't bother with her the next time you meet her." Ning Cheng felt slightly startled. Did Striking Order Heavenly Emperor place such importance on relationships? Was it worth it for him to plead for leniency over a mere husband and wife relationship? It stood to reason that Striking Order Heavenly Emperor was a decisive person and would never bring it up just because of a personal affair. What's more, Striking Order and Su Binglan were just a couple. He had already protected Su Binglan once before, and now he was pleading for her again. Was she really that important to him? Moreover, he didn't even stop Su Binglan from leaving. Brother Striking Order is truly a person who places great importance on relationships. In fact, I don't have much of a gap with her. Since Brother Striking Order said so, I naturally won't take it to heart." Ning Cheng spoke with a slight smile. In front of Striking Order Heavenly Emperor, if he disagreed, it would be equivalent to slapping his face. Moreover, because of Striking Order's plea, Ning Cheng's favorable impression of Striking Order had skyrocketed. "Many thanks, Brother Ning." Striking Order deliberately cupped his fists towards Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng suddenly understood that Striking Order Heavenly Emperor had investigated him and knew about his character. That's why he deliberately said those words. Striking Order and Su Binglan had an affair. If Striking Order abandoned Su Binglan for the sake of his relationship with him, it would not please Ning Cheng at all. On the contrary, it would make him feel that Striking Order was not a person worth befriending and a person who put benefits above everything else. Striking Order slapped Su Binglan in front of him and then pleaded for leniency behind Su Binglan's back, which would only make him look at him in a different light. These people weren't people who could be taken lightly. After understanding all this, Ning Qing smiled and said, "These are all trivial matters. I came here this time to visit Brother Striking Order and invite Brother Striking Order to the ancient Shadow Temple." Chapter 734. Striking Order sighed and said, "Brother Ning, I'm anxious about this matter." Gua Sangon invited more than a dozen eternal experts, including 7 or 8 starry sky emperors, to mysterious yellow celestial river. Not only Chuan Xinlo and Yi Jiufeng, but even Zhangkang Tianji of Demon Domain and Xiao Jirui of Devil Domain are also there. Ning Qing suddenly stood up, and his expression turned ugly. He didn't expect that Gua Sangon would stir up trouble the moment he left mysterious yellow celestial river. No, Gua Sangon would never dare to do this. Ning Qing instantly understood the problem. Chuan Xinlo definitely had Gua Sangon's backing, otherwise, how could Gua Sangon dare to do this? Because Brother Ning said that mysterious yellow celestial river is outside and not under the control of Grand Culmination Starry Sky. So I can't say anything. I'm afraid that Chuan Xinlo is behind all of this. Chuan Xinlo is targeting you. Otherwise, he would never have invited Xiao Jirui and Zhangkang Tianji. Striking Order understood Ning Cheng's anxiety. Since he and Ning Cheng had formed an alliance, he couldn't do anything about this situation. Brother Striking Order, I have to return to mysterious yellow celestial river immediately. Ning Cheng stood up. With more than a dozen eternal experts in mysterious yellow celestial river, he couldn't feel at ease outside. Striking Order also stood up, I'll go with you. Brother Ning, don't worry. As long as you and I are alive, those people won't dare to do anything excessive in mysterious yellow celestial river. Besides, I've already told Brother Tang to inform me if anything happens. Ning Qing spoke up with a cold voice, if they dare to touch even a blade of grass or a tree in mysterious yellow celestial river, don't blame me for cutting off their foundation. I, Ning Qing, am a man of my word. Hearing Ning Cheng's cold words, Striking Order Heavenly Emperor felt a chill in his heart. He couldn't afford to offend this Ning Cheng. If he offended him, he could only kill him. Otherwise, there would be endless troubles in the future. Stately River Star, Covered Snow City's City Master Mansion. Zhang Saihe accompanied a group of eternal experts in the guest hall to discuss the Tao of Alchemy. He seemed to be in high spirits. However, Deputy City Master Helian, who was currently in charge of Covered Snow City, didn't even have the qualifications to enter. Sect Master Tsang, we've been talking about the Tao of Alchemy here for days. It's not like we're pill emperors. It's really boring to stay here and talk about pill Tao. A middle-aged man with a folding fan in his hand said in a strange tone. Yes, Brother Fu is right. Sect Head Tsang is the #1 alchemy emperor. Discussing the alchemy Tao with us, we really can't understand. How about this, if you don't like the Tao of alchemy, you can go and rest. We can wait for Sect Master Ning to come back before heading to the ancient Shadow Temple. Another person suggested. Zhang Saihe spoke up in a flat tone, since Sect Master is not here, I don't know where to arrange for everyone to stay. I can only ask Brother Fu and Brother Gua to bear with it for the time being. Ning Qing wasn't in Covered Snow City, and Zhang Saihe was by himself. Therefore, he absolutely couldn't let these experts out of his sight. Otherwise, if something were to happen to him, he would not be able to live up to Ning Cheng's trust. The cultivator surnamed Gua still wanted to say something, but he heard a cold voice. If you can't bear to listen, then scram. Don't make a fuss in this emperor's territory. Cultivator Gua's expression changed and he was about to stand up when he was pulled back by Gua Sangon. Gua Sangon knew that Ning Cheng had returned. Grand Master. Zhang Saihe's face lit up with joy as he stood up. To be honest, there were more than a dozen eternal-level powerhouses here, including the supreme powerhouses of the 10 Grand Starry Sky Emperors, which put a lot of pressure on him. Now that Ning Cheng had returned, he finally felt a bit relieved. Ha, Brother Ning, I didn't expect to see you again so soon. Heavenly Emperor Wu Hong laughed and stood up with cupped fists towards Ning Cheng. Immediately, everyone in the room stood up and greeted Ning Cheng. After all, this was Ning Cheng's territory, and they all wanted to make a fortune in this place. Are you Sect Master Ning Cheng? An old man with a dark face looked at Ning Cheng and asked. Ning Cheng understood at a glance that this person was no weaker than Chuan Xinlo. Moreover, he seemed to have met him before. Song Saihe quickly stepped forward and introduced him to Ning Cheng. This is Heavenly Emperor Qiao Jierui, the Devil Domain Grand Starry Sky Emperor. He came here on the invitation of Endless Void Doc's Guo Sangon. Could Guo Sangon invite Qiao Jierui? Ning Cheng sneered in his heart. Besides, what does my covered snow city's ancient shadow temple have to do with you, Guo Sangon? But now wasn't the time to act up. Since Guo Sangon wanted to die, then he shouldn't leave. Ning Cheng greets Brother Qiao. It's an honor for my mysterious yellow sect for Heavenly Emperor Jierui to come to my covered snow city. Ning Cheng said with a smile. Qiao Jierui felt slightly taken aback. He had heard that Ning Cheng was young and full of vigor. Just because he had a bit of cultivation, he didn't put others in his eyes. Ning Cheng had told Guo Jingtian to fuck off as soon as he came in. Qiao Jierui thought that the rumors were true and was ready to teach Ning Cheng a lesson when Ning Cheng scolded him. But he didn't expect Ning Cheng to be so kind to him. He came from afar as a guest, so he couldn't attack the host for no reason. Song Saihe naturally didn't want Ning Cheng to have a conflict with someone like Heavenly Emperor Jierui. Therefore, he quickly pointed to a strong, bare-chested man and introduced him. This is Demon Domain Grand Starry Skies Zhangkong Tianji Heavenly Emperor. Zhangkong Tianji looked like a barbarian, but in fact, he was more polite to Ning Cheng than Qiao Jierui. With Song Saihe's introductions, Ning Cheng finally got to know who these people were. The ordinary-looking middle-aged man sitting next to Chuan Xinlo was called Yang Yu, a middle-stage eternal cultivator and a member of Chuan Xinlo. Sitting next to Yi Jiufeng was a very handsome male cultivator called Shi Jinyu, an early-stage eternal cultivator. He looked a bit like Yi Jiufeng's gigolo. The middle-stage eternal cultivator sitting next to the black-robed Qiao Jierui was called Shi Haoyan, most likely a cultivator from the Devil Domain. In addition, there was also Fu Yingkue, the middle-aged man who said that Song Saihe's alchemy Dao was boring. He held a folding fan in his hand and was the Starry Sky Emperor of Silver Feather Starry Sky, middle-stage eternal cultivator. Mu Hao, with an expressionless face, looked like a dead man. Starry Sky Emperor of Heaven Net Starry Sky, late-stage eternal cultivator. Sun Jihe, Starry Sky Emperor of Water Immortal Starry Sky, late-stage eternal cultivator. This woman always had a smile on her face and looked very friendly. Although she wasn't as beautiful as Yi Jiufeng, with her long hair, she still looked pretty. As for Bright Heaven Starry Skies Heavenly Emperor Wu Hong, Snapping Ascension Starry Skies Heavenly Emperor Shen Mao, Weapon Emperor Ji Ming Qianbua, and Tang Yitong, Ning Cheng knew all of them. Endless Void Doc's Guo Sangon and the early-stage eternal cultivator sitting next to Guo Sangon, Song Saihe didn't introduce them at all. Ning Cheng felt very satisfied with Song Saihe. Apparently, when Song Saihe heard him telling the eternal cultivator surnamed Guo to fuck off, it meant that he had thoroughly offended him. Therefore, there was no need to repair the relationship. Ning Cheng cupped his fists and said, "Today, this Ning invited you to Covered Snow City because of the ancient Shadow Temple. Many thanks to the Heavenly Emperors for coming to my stately River Star. Sect Master Ning, you're wrong. Everyone can come here because of my Endless Void Doc's invitation. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with you, right?" The early-stage eternal cultivator next to Guo Sangon stood up again and spoke with an unhappy tone. "Who are you?" Ning Cheng looked at this early-stage eternal cultivator in doubt. The cultivator sneered, "This emperor has been to the Heavenly Well. Every invitation is personally sent out by this emperor. A dignified eternal-level powerhouse like you dares to talk nonsense. The ancient Shadow Temple is in the Endless Void Dock." Ning Cheng frowned. Guo Jingtian spoke with disdain. The ancient shadow temple is in your covered snow city, so what? This ancient relic. Ning Qing didn't wait for Guo Jingtian to finish and interrupted without hesitation. You also know that the ancient shadow temple is in my stately river stars covered snow city? So what if it's an ancient relic? Does your endless void dock not have any ancient weapons? Does that mean that anyone can rob your endless void dock's ancient weapons? Since that's not the case, then shut your bird's mouth. What does my covered snow city's ancient shadow temple have to do with your endless void dock? You're not this emperor's dog, so what right do you have to help this emperor invite guests? This emperor did invite guests, but not your endless void dock. What are you doing here? You can fuck off now. Stately river star doesn't welcome you. Chuan Xinluo's face also turned ugly. He knew that Ning Qing calling Guo Jingtian a dog was tantamount to cursing him. You're looking for death. Guo Jingtian overflowed with murderous intent, and a powerful domain blasted towards Ning Qing. At the same time, his gaze shifted to the rest of the people, wanting to know who would stand up to help. Gua Sangan didn't move. He knew that he couldn't stand up at this time. Only after someone else stood up to help could he stand up. But to Guo Jingtian's disappointment, no one stood up to echo Guo Jingtian. Although these people were invited by the Endless Void Dock, they didn't come here because of the Endless Void Dock, but because of the ancient Shadow Temple. Without the ancient Shadow Temple, the Endless Void Dock wouldn't have such a big face. They came here for their own benefits. If they stood up to help the Endless Void Dock, it would truly be taking advantage of the Endless Void Dock. The Endless Void Dock could invite them, but if you want to take advantage of them, Guo Jingtian, you're thinking too much. Ning Qing didn't care about Guo Jingtian's killing intent at all. Instead, he looked at Song Caihe and asked, Sect Master Tsang, our invitations should have already been sent out, right? Song Caihe was a Starry Sky rogue cultivator and understood the meaning behind Ning Qing's words. Why would Ning Qing invite others to the ancient Shadow Temple? Ning Qing wanted to find an excuse to establish his prestige. He quickly spoke up, yes, we've already sent out our invitations. I'm afraid that someone might have stolen our invitations, and we haven't heard anything from the person who sent the invitations. Ning Qing looked at Guo Jingtian with a cold expression. I was wondering why you knew so much about the guests I invited. It turns out that you killed the guest who sent me to deliver the invitations, and then sent the invitations in the name of your Endless Void Dock. Not only that, but you even challenged my territory and overflowed with killing intent. Do you think my mysterious yellow celestial river is easy to bully? Do you think my mysterious yellow sect and Ning Qing are easy to bully? Are your dog eyes blind? Ning Qing didn't even finish his words. His celestial river domain suddenly erupted, and at the same time, he punched out. If he didn't establish his prestige today, not to mention that no one would look at his mysterious yellow sect in the future, he wouldn't be able to swallow this anger. This was Ning Cheng's full strength, and he didn't hold back at all. Kaka. The two people's domains blasted together, and Guo Jingtian's domain shattered into pieces. Guo Jingtian felt shocked. He knew that Ning Qing wouldn't dare to attack him, which was why he acted so unscrupulously. He didn't expect that Ning Cheng's courage seemed to be forged from fine iron. He didn't hesitate to attack him, and with such strength. The moment he brought out his weapon, he felt his surroundings stagnate. Not to mention time, even space seemed to have stopped. Chapter 735. A beautiful red sunset appeared in front of Guo Jingtian, which made him unable to bring out a weapon to destroy it. No, it wasn't that he couldn't bear to destroy it, but the sad sunset had enveloped him, making him unable to move. It was as if he had seen the dusk of his life. This was a laws of time-related spirit technique. Guo Jingtian felt inexplicably horrified. At the moment of death, he crazily burned his essence, blood and longevity. Poof! A bloody mist erupted. The moment Guo Jingtian's nirvana spear slammed into his chest, he forcibly twisted his body by burning his life and essence blood. Even so, Ning Cheng's nirvana spear blasted one of his arms into pieces and turned it into a bloody mist. Guo Jingtian frantically retreated while raising his hand to grab a few medicinal pills and swallowing them. In just a few breaths, his other arm regrew. But this new arm's aura was much weaker, far inferior to his previous arm. After doing all this, he looked at Ning Cheng in shock. He knew that it wasn't the laws of time, but a spear attack that was infinitely close to the laws of time. If it were the real laws of time, Ning Cheng would have killed him with that spear attack. Ning Cheng looked at Guo Jingtian coldly, and the Nirvana spear in his hand once again gathered killing intent. He hadn't used his full strength just now. He didn't even use the real laws of time in Sunset's twilight. It was still the same Sunset's twilight as before. In fact, when he came out of the time wilderness for the second time, he had already comprehended the laws of time, or at least controlled a corner of the laws of time. However, he had concealed his true abilities just now. Using the real laws of time to kill Guo Jingtian with a spear attack would indeed be a huge relief. However, he would have to reveal one of his trump cards. In this place, Guo Jingtian was just a trivial ant. For Ning Cheng, if he could kill Guo Jingtian, he would kill him. If he couldn't kill him, he would never use the laws of time on Guo Jingtian. All the eternal level experts in the guest hall felt shocked by Ning Cheng's spear attack. What would they do if they suddenly faced this spear attack? Fortunately, Ning Cheng hadn't comprehended the real laws of time. That spear attack was just a bluff. Chuan Xinluo's eyes flashed with horror. He understood that Ning Cheng's spear attack wasn't the real laws of time. At most, it could only compress time infinitely and create a false time stop. This child definitely couldn't be left alive. To be able to compress time and infinitely approach the laws of time, he would definitely comprehend the true laws of time in the future. Once Ning Cheng comprehended the real laws of time, even Chuan Xinluo might not be Ning Cheng's opponent. Old fart, how dare you act so cocky in my territory? Take another spear strike from yours truly. Ning Cheng's domain once again blasted out. He felt sure that as long as no one intervened, he could kill Guo Jingtian this time. Moreover, he wouldn't even need to use his real trump cards. Guo Jingtian, who had burned a lot of his lifespan and essence blood, looked like an old man on the verge of death. His face was pale, and he could feel that his domain was completely suppressed by Ning Cheng. His eyes filled with horror and fear. Gua Senggen's expressions turned ugly. If Chuan Xinluo didn't come forward, then he would have to step up. He could not let Ning Cheng kill an eternal-level expert of the Endless Void Docks. What made him feel fortunate was that although Ning Cheng was powerful, but he was not as powerful as he showed on the surface. All right. Chuan Xinluo stood up. Dao friend Guo spoke badly in Sect Master Ning's mansion, and Sect Master Ning has already reprimanded him. Let's forget about this matter. We came here today to discuss how to enter the ancient Shadow Temple. Ning Cheng showed a slight smile and put away his Nirvana spear. Since Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor said so, then I'll let this trash go. If he dares to talk nonsense in front of me again, I won't be so polite. Although Ning Cheng smiled, killing intent surged in his heart. This Chuan Xinluo truly didn't have any good intentions. Unfortunately, his strength was too low, and he couldn't do anything to Chuan Xinluo at all. If he continued to force his hand, he would definitely tear apart all pretense of cordiality with Chuan Xinluo. It really was a pity. If he had grown a bit stronger, he could have killed Guo Jingtian with that spear strike without using the real laws of time. But now, Ning Cheng didn't even bother telling Guo Jingtian to fuck off. If he told Guo Jingtian to fuck off, how could he scheme against this fellow in the ancient Shadow Temple? What was 10 years too late for a gentleman to take revenge? For Ning Cheng, even one more day was too much. He didn't care about being a gentleman or not, as long as he could take revenge. Sect Master Ning's laws of time really are amazing. Silver Feather Starry Sky Emperor Fu Yingkue smiled and opened the folding fan in his hand. Everyone could see the sarcasm at the corner of his mouth. Fu Yingkue truly felt frightened by Ning Cheng's strength when he first came in. But after Ning Cheng made his move, he realized that Ning Cheng's spear strike didn't contain the real laws of time. Even if Ning Cheng was a bit stronger than him, there was still a limit to his strength. As such, he didn't feel any fear towards Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng's face remained calm and didn't respond to Fu Yingkue's words. He didn't hide the real laws of time spirit technique to deal with Fu Yingkue, an ant, but to deal with Chuan Xinluo. Zhangkang Tianji shouted at Fu Yingkue, "Don't talk about this nonsense, it's just a waste of time. We came here to go to the ancient Shadow Temple." Now that the ancient Shadow Temple is in Sect Master Ning's territory, Sect Master Ning sealed it. Since Sect Master Ning went in once, why don't you talk about it? Ning Cheng ignored Fu Yingkue and spoke politely to Zhangkang Tianji, "Heavenly Emperor Tianji, the ancient Shadow Temple can be opened at any time. However, there is a poisonous mist inside. Everyone should be careful of this poisonous mist. We can go in now. That's for the best. I don't like to procrastinate." Zhangkang Tianji spoke with a simple tone. Ning Cheng turned around and smiled before cupping his fists towards Chuan Xinluo, "Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor, I want to ask you something." Chuan Xinluo replied with a calm expression, "Sect Master Ning, you can speak freely. As long as I know it, I will naturally say it. I heard that a piece of breath soil had appeared in Culmination Starland before. Did Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor obtain this piece of breath soil? I've always wanted to know what breath soil looks like. I don't know if Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor can open my eyes to it." Ning Cheng spoke with a smile. As soon as Ning Cheng's words came out, everyone's eyes immediately swept towards Chuan Xinluo. Yi Jiufeng's breathing even quickened. Her wind thunder apricot tree was currently neither dead nor alive. If there was even a little bit of breath soil, her wind thunder apricot tree could not only live happily, it could even grow a thunder apricot tree. Chuan Xinluo felt angry in his heart, but he didn't show it on his face. Instead, he showed a faint smile and said, "Sect Master Ning might have made a mistake. What was auctioned in Culmination Starland wasn't breath soil, but a piece of soil that once contained breath soil. I did manage to obtain that piece of soil, but the value of this piece of soil was very low. I put it in the Leveled Heart Emperor Mountain, but the effects were not as obvious as the legend said." "Ah, so that's how it is. It looks like the rumors are not credible, alas." Ning Cheng sighed and asked, "Since Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor put the breath soil in the Leveled Heart Emperor Mountain, you must have found out where this breath soil came from, right?" Chuan Xinluo grew even angrier. He felt sure that Ning Cheng knew that it wasn't breath soil, but this fellow kept saying that it was breath soil. "I didn't find anything about it. This kind of thing is an epoch-making treasure, how could people easily find out about it?" Chuan Xinluo clenched his fists and continued to speak with a calm tone. Ning Cheng also gave out a regretful sigh, "I thought that Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor used that piece of breath soil because he found out about it. If it were me, I would never have used it without finding out about the origin of that breath soil. It looks like Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor has an open mind." Chuan Xinluo almost vomited blood in his heart. This bastard was always drawing hatred to himself. He only needed to look at the eyes of the eternal holy emperors around him to understand that if it really was a piece of soil used to store breath soil, no one would use it before finding the breath soil. If it was used up, there were only two possibilities. One was that it wasn't a piece of soil used to store breath soil, but the real breath soil. The second was that they had already found the origin of the breath soil. What made Chuan Xinluo even more vomit blood was that Ning Cheng didn't wait for him to speak at all and spoke up again, "After this matter with the ancient Shadow Temple, I might have to go to Culmination Starland. By the way, I heard that Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor obtained a fragment of the Good Fortune Indestructible Axe last time. I don't know if I can feast my eyes on it. Sect Master Ning, although we came to your Jiangzhou star, you should pay a little attention to your words. However, you have to be careful with your words. Good fortune treasures are not something that can be obtained easily. If I said that Sect Master Ning had a good fortune treasure on him, maybe Sect Master Ning would not be happy, right?" Chuan Xinluo's tone already contained a hint of killing intent. Ning Cheng spoke up in surprise, "Why would I not be happy? If I obtained a good fortune treasure, I would be overjoyed, so why would I be unhappy?" Does that mean Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor didn't obtain a good fortune treasure? Alas, I think I overthought it. Brother Zhongming wouldn't have gotten it, right? When the good fortune treasure appeared in Culmination Starland, I remember that Brother Zhongming was also there. Although Zhongming Qianbo was a weapon emperor, he didn't count for anything in this place. Ning Qing couldn't even touch him, let alone a few starry sky heavenly emperors. Now that Ning Qing had ignited the flames of war over his head, he quickly waved his hand and said, "That thing has nothing to do with me, it has nothing to do with me. I didn't try to snatch it." As soon as Zhongming Qianbo said those words, Ning Qing understood that he had achieved his goal. He simply nodded and said, "That's right. Although Brother Zhongming is a good person, this good fortune treasure should still be some distance away from Brother Zhongming. Let's not talk about this. Let's hurry to the ancient Shadow Temple." Although Ning Qing said that he wasn't qualified to obtain a fragment of the good fortune indestructible axe, Zhongming Qianbo didn't dare to say even half a word of nonsense. Chuan Xinluo's face turned livid with anger. Ning Qing might not have said anything, but in fact, Zhongming Qianbo had already confirmed that a fragment of the good fortune indestructible axe had appeared in Culmination Starland. Moreover, this kid even went so far as to say that it was a good fortune treasure. Once this matter was confirmed and the hatred shifted to Chuan Xinluo's head, this kid wouldn't say anything about it. Wouldn't it make it clear that everyone suspected that the good fortune treasure was on Chuan Xinluo? If Zhongming Qianbo wasn't qualified to obtain it in Culmination Starland, then apart from Chuan Xinluo, who else in Culmination Starland could? Chapter 736. Sect Master Tsang, you don't have to go to the ancient Shadow Temple. Just stay here and take care of the sect. I'm afraid that some thieves might come to my stately river star to steal things while the heavenly emperors are away. Ning Qing knew that the ancient Shadow Temple must be extremely dangerous. Moreover, after he secretly provoked them, everyone became even more united. Therefore, he didn't want Song Caihe to take the risk. Ning Qing felt very satisfied with his provocation. He could never let Chuan Xinluo and the other heavenly emperors join forces. He had to find some trouble for Chuan Xinluo. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died. In fact, Ning Qing thought too much. Even if he didn't provoke them, Chuan Xinluo, Zhangkang Tianji, and Qiao Jirui wouldn't have peed together. Yes, Sect Master. I will protect Stately River Star and the mysterious Yellow Sect. Song Caihe quickly responded. Ning Qing smiled and turned to leave the guest hall. He didn't even bother to say hello. Although he was weak right now, after he advanced to the Eternal Realm, he would visit everyone here one by one as long as they didn't die. When the rest of the cultivators saw Ning Qing leave, they also followed Ning Qing out of the guest hall. Chuan Xinluo's anger only lasted for a moment before he calmed down. He didn't even bother to explain. This Ning Qing really admired this person. If it was replaced by him, then he would definitely retort back in a sarcastic manner. It seemed that his temperament was still lacking compared to Chuan Xinluo's. After Ning Qing sealed off the ancient Shadow Temple, and Stately River Star's entry and exit became strictly controlled, the outside of the ancient Shadow Temple was once again covered with snow. The bustling atmosphere from a few months ago seemed to have disappeared and turned cold. Sect Master Ning's attainments in the Tao of Array formations are indeed formidable. Standing here, I can only feel the restriction of array formations, but I can't sense where the array base is. Sun Jihe, who always had a smile on her face, suddenly spoke up. Fu Yingkue immediately followed up, yes, if we all enter the ancient Shadow Temple, and Sect Master Ning suddenly seals the ancient Shadow Temple, he. Ning Qing didn't bother with Fu Yingkue at all. He raised his hand and shot out several array flags, and a dark entrance appeared in front of everyone. In fact, not only Ning Qing, but even the other eternal holy emperors didn't take Fu Yingkue's words to heart. As soon as the entrance of the ancient Shadow Temple appeared, Zhangkang Tianji rushed in. Immediately after, the rest of the eternal level powerhouses entered the ancient Shadow Temple one by one. Ning Qing stayed behind. Seeing Fu Yingkue still standing outside hesitantly, he gave a cold snort and said, "If you don't have the guts to go in, then get the hell out of Stately River Star for this emperor. Don't embarrass yourself here. You." When Fu Yingkue heard Ning Cheng's words, his anger immediately flared up. Ning Cheng raised his hand and brought out the Nirvana spear before speaking with a calm voice, "I'll give you 3 breaths. If you don't go in, then get the hell out of Stately River Star. Otherwise." Ning Cheng didn't finish his words, but the murderous aura overflowing from his celestial river domain had already enveloped Fu Yingkue. After realizing that Ning Cheng's laws of time were fake, Fu Yingkue's impression of Ning Cheng immediately soured. But now that everyone had entered the ancient Shadow Temple, facing Ning Cheng alone, he felt an inexplicable fear rising in his heart. For a moment, he really wanted to leave Stately River Star. In the end, his pride overcame his fear, and with a cold snort, he rushed into the ancient Shadow Temple. Ning Cheng was the last to enter the ancient Shadow Temple and sealed the entrance again. By the time Ning Cheng came in, the people who came in before him had already entered the innermost area. The things on the periphery of the ancient Shadow Temple weren't attractive enough for these eternal experts. Moreover, none of these eternal cultivators were stupid. None of them stayed on the outside and rushed straight into the innermost area. As for worrying about getting trapped by Ning Cheng's array formations, it was just a joke. No matter how powerful Ning Cheng's array formations were, he couldn't trap more than a dozen eternal cultivators at the same time. The poisonous mist that overflowed outside had also dissipated. Ning Cheng also didn't stay on the periphery and quickly headed towards the Real Ancient Shadow Temple. When Ning Cheng arrived at the edge of the ancient Shadow Temple's poisonous mist, more than a dozen eternal cultivators had already arrived. However, none of them rushed into the mist. Apparently, they all knew about the dangers of the mist here. It was no different from the last time he came here. It was still shrouded in a poisonous mist, and one's spiritual consciousness could only penetrate more than 10 feet. Even spiritual consciousness can't penetrate this place. Moreover, this mist has a hint of murderous aura. It's too strange. Fu Yingkue stood behind Gua Sangon and spoke with a worried tone. Yi Jiufeng sneered, "Just because your spiritual consciousness can't penetrate it doesn't mean that others can't." Ning Cheng glanced at Yi Jiufeng in doubt. It stood to reason that Yi Jiufeng and Chuan Xinluo would never ridicule Chuan Xinluo's little brother, Fu Yingkue. "Sect Master Ning, you've been here once. Do you have any good ideas?" After Yi Jiufeng ridiculed Fu Yingkue, she asked Ning Cheng with a smile. Ning Cheng quickly waved his hand, "My cultivation is low. It's already lucky that I can stand in this place. How can I think of any good ideas? As for the several starry sky heavenly emperors, I'll just follow behind and cheer." Qiao Jierue gave a cold snort, "What's the use of shouting and cheering? Since everyone came to this place together, we should work together. If you don't have the ability, then just retreat. If you want to share the treasures of the ancient Shadow Temple, then go in together. If you don't think you're qualified to get the treasures, then stay outside." After saying that, Qiao Jierue rushed in first. Ning Cheng initially thought that Demon Domain's Zhangkang Tianji would be the first to rush in. He never expected that it would be Qiao Jierue. After Qiao Jierue rushed in, the rest of the eternal powerhouses naturally wouldn't show any weakness. Since they came here, no one felt that they weren't qualified to get the treasures. As soon as they entered the poisonous mist, everyone's cultivation could be clearly distinguished. Among the people who rushed into the mist, except for the 4 Grand Starry Sky Emperors, the rest all brought out defensive weapons. Chuan Xinluo, Qiao Jierue, Zhangkang Tianji, and Yi Jiufeng didn't bring out any defensive weapons. As such, when the mist fell on them, it didn't affect them at all. Guo Jingtian, who had a lower cultivation, not only brought out a weapon after Ning Cheng taught him a lesson, but he also put on a set of defensive armor over his body. Ning Cheng followed behind them without any hurry. He was a body forging expert with a starry sky body, so he naturally didn't need to bring out any weapons. However, he still brought out a defensive shield. He could tell that Chuan Xinluo and Zhangkang Tianji were both body forging experts, which meant that they didn't fear the poisonous mist in this place. As for Yi Jiufeng and Qiao Jierui, they most likely cultivated a powerful defensive cultivation method. Seeing Ning Cheng also bring out a defensive shield, Guo Sangan felt inexplicably relieved. After everyone entered the mist 100 feet deep, they saw the gate with the words Ancient Shadow Temple written on it. Bursts of mournful whimpering sounds came from behind the gate, which looked very strange. But among the people who came here, the lowest cultivation was at the early stage Eternal Realm. Therefore, no one felt afraid of the whimpering sounds coming from behind the gate. Sure enough, it's the real Ancient Shadow Temple. Qiao Jierui's eyes flashed with a hint of heat. Let's attack this gate together. With more than a dozen of us in the Eternal Realm attacking this gate won't last long. I agree. Let's attack directly. I'll start first. Zhangkang Tianji was the first to stand up. Immediately after, the rest of the people agreed to attack. But Ning Qing suddenly spoke up, Dao friends, I also agree to attack. Before we attack, I hope that Dao friends can allow me to arrange a sealing array formation here. As for what exactly is inside the ancient Shadow Temple, none of us knows. In case something terrible comes out, we can just pat our butts and leave. This is my stately river star, and I have to be responsible for the countless lives of my stately river star. Humph, it's just a bunch of ants. If they die, then they die. What's there to say? Qiao Jierui gave a cold snort. He didn't care about Ning Cheng before because it had nothing to do with his interests. But now that they were about to enter the ancient Shadow Temple, Ning Cheng still wanted to waste time arranging array formations for some ants, which naturally made him unhappy. Ning Cheng's tone suddenly turned cold. Qiao Jierui, you're right. If the things inside cause the destruction of my stately river star, I will go to the Devil Domain Grand Starry Sky. I will refine the planets one by one and turn them all into my back garden. You dare. Qiao Jierui's anger immediately flared up. He didn't put Ning Cheng in his eyes at all. It was because Ning Cheng didn't provoke him before. But now, Ning Cheng dared to provoke him, Qiao Jierui. Did he think that Qiao Jierui was someone like Guo Jingtian? That was simply courting death. Ning Cheng didn't fear Qiao Jierui's power and spoke up in a cold voice, my stately river star's people are ants, and your devil domain's people are nobles, right? Qiao Jierui, let's see if I dare or not. Qiao Jierui felt that his powerful domain couldn't tear apart Ning Cheng's domain and felt extremely shocked. He couldn't think of anyone else besides the three heavenly emperors who could match him in terms of domains. If he couldn't kill such a person in one go, it would only lead to endless troubles in the future. Yi Jiufeng giggled and stood up. It doesn't take long for Sect Master Ning to arrange an array formation. We can still wait for a bit of time. Qiao Jierui didn't speak again. After clashing with Ning Cheng's domain, he didn't want to continue fighting against Ning Cheng. No one thought that Qiao Jierui listened to Yi Jiufeng's words. Everyone understood that Qiao Jierui had sensed Ning Cheng's strength. Chuan Xinluo frowned slightly. Did Ning Cheng have the strength to make Qiao Jierui feel fear? In any case, Yi Jiufeng had at least one thing right. Ning Cheng arranged array formations quickly. In just half an hour, Ning Cheng arranged a sealing array formation outside the ancient Shadow Temple's entrance. Although this array formation could also seal the cultivators inside, no one cared about it. Everyone here was an eternal level powerhouse, so why would they fear Ning Cheng's rank 8 sealing array? Now that the array formation has been arranged, let's start attacking. Zhangkang Tianji finished and didn't wait for the others to start. He brought out an iron rod first. As he raised his hand, the iron rod instantly transformed into a huge cylinder. As the cylinder slammed into the ancient Shadow Temple's entrance, a dull roar erupted. Everyone could feel the ground beneath their feet trembling with just that one move. Chapter 737. With Zhangkang Tianji taking action, the rest of the cultivators didn't continue to watch and immediately brought out their weapons to attack. With so many eternal-level powerhouses attacking the ancient Shadow Temple's entrance at the same time, just as Xiao Jirue guessed, the ancient Shadow Temple's entrance trembled violently, as if it would burst open the next moment. Catcha! After another round of bombardment, a crack finally appeared on the ancient Shadow Temple's entrance, and a trace of nether wind emerged from the crack. The ancient Shadow Temple's entrance wasn't that big, and with more than a dozen eternal-level holy emperors attacking it, it looked quite dense. Ning Qing didn't even have the chance to squeeze through, let alone attack. But after the crack appeared on the entrance, a trace of nether wind rushed out. Ning Qing immediately felt something wrong and immediately retreated. After cultivating to the eternal realm, one's sixth sense naturally became more powerful. Not only Ning Qing, but even the rest of the people also felt a little strange. Everyone stopped attacking at the same time, but at this moment, the ancient Shadow Temple's entrance suddenly burst open. A violent and cold aura rushed out, and this time, even the four heavenly emperors brought out their defensive weapons. Ning Qing especially noticed that Chuan Xinluo's defensive weapon was a tower, while Qiao Jirue's defensive weapon was a devil gong. But what everyone didn't expect was that after the violent yin qi rushed out and hit everyone's weapons, it instantly changed its direction. From a violent explosion, it turned into a powerful suction force. If an ordinary cultivator were to face such a powerful transformation, they would not be able to react in time and would be turned into slag. Of the dozen eternal-level powerhouses here, only Guo Jingtian, who Ning Qing had seriously injured, couldn't resist the suction force. He directly got sucked into the ancient Shadow Temple and let out a scream before disappearing without a trace. Fu Yingkue was only at the middle stage of the eternal realm. But he had seen Guo Jingtian get sucked in. Feeling his soul dispersing, he had to use his trump card to retreat. Probably because he retreated too quickly, he ended up in front of Ning Qing. Ning Qing had long since found this fellow unpleasant to the eye. So, without hesitation, he raised his foot and kicked. Fu Yingkue clearly felt Ning Qing's kick, but he found that he couldn't avoid it. His domain felt like thin ice in front of Ning Qing and shattered in an instant. Bang! Ning Qing's kick landed on Fu Yingkue's back. Under the powerful suction force of the nether wind inside the ancient Shadow Temple, Fu Yingkue flew inside like a kite with a broken string. Fu Yingkue felt horrified in his heart. Only he knew how insidious Ning Qing's kick was. Ning Qing took advantage of the fact that he had focused all his attention on the nether wind to seal off his domain in an instant, making it so that he could not use it. Seeing Ning Qing kick Fu Yingkue into the ancient Shadow Temple, Chuan Xinluo suddenly brought out the pagoda in his hand. The body of the pagoda instantly expanded and became like a wall, blocking Fu Yingkue's path. Fu Yingkue's back broke out in a cold sweat, and his celestial essence and spiritual consciousness returned to his body. He took in a deep breath and bowed to Chuan Xinluo, "Many thanks for Heavenly Emperor's help." Chuan Xinluo nodded to Fu Yingkue before turning around and staring at Ning Qing coldly. "Sect Master Ning, what do you mean by this? Everyone joined forces to enter the ancient Shadow Temple, yet you plotted behind our backs." Most people had seen Ning Qing's kick just now. Therefore, after Chuan Xinluo saved Fu Yingkue and questioned Ning Qing, the rest of the people also looked at Ning Qing, wondering how Ning Qing would explain it. Ning Qing spoke up without any hurry. "Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't speak whatever you want. What do you mean by plotting behind our backs?" At that time, who didn't protect themselves? I was also flustered. Fu Yingkue bumped into me. How do I know he didn't want to plot against me? Is it wrong for me to defend myself? If I wanted to deal with Fu Yingkue, I would have just brought out my weapon. Why would I need to use my leg? Does Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor think that I should have fallen into a plot? Even if I didn't fall into a plot, I should have at least bumped into him. Chuan Xinluo, does this emperor owe you anything? This emperor let you search for treasures in my stately River Star's ancient Shadow Temple, yet you keep making things difficult for this emperor. You have a good fortune treasure, but did I ask you for it? Do you think that you have the aura of a bastard? If you don't want to stay here, then get out of here for this emperor. This emperor doesn't welcome shameless people like you. If the first half of Ning Cheng's words were a polite explanation, then the second half directly turned into curses. Chuan Xinluo's face turned livid with anger, and murderous aura overflowed from his body. Even the pagoda in his hand gave out hissing sounds. Since Chuan Xinluo wanted to fight against Ning Cheng, no one wanted to stand up and speak up. Although striking order Heavenly Emperor was Ning Cheng's accomplice, he couldn't openly help Ning Cheng deal with his nominal boss at this time. As for Qiao Jierui, he couldn't wait for Chuan Xinluo and Ning Cheng to fight. Yi Jiufeng didn't know why, but she didn't speak up at this time. Courting death, how dare you be rude to the Heavenly Emperor? The ordinary-looking middle-stage eternal powerhouse standing next to Chuan Xinluo took a step forward and shouted. After Guo Jingtian fell, Gua Senggen's face had turned ugly. Now that he saw Ning Cheng courting death and taking the initiative to fight against Chuan Xinluo, he also sneered and stood up. Surnamed Ning, I've long since disliked you. You actually want to fight against the Heavenly Emperor? In just a blink of an eye, it turned into 3 against 1. Zhangkang Tianji showed a smile. Sure enough, you're shameless. 3 against 1. Brother leveled heart, I really admire you. Chuan Xinluo's face turned ugly. He had stood up for Fu Yingkue, but this bastard was scared out of his wits by Ning Cheng and didn't dare to take the initiative to stand up. What a coward. In fact, Fu Yingkue truly felt scared out of his wits by Ning Cheng. Only he and Guo Jingtian dared to go tit for tat against Ning Cheng. But now, before they even entered the ancient Shadow Temple, Guo Jingtian had already died, and he almost died as a result. If not for Chuan Xinluo's help, he might have already died at the hands of the ancient Shadow Temple. He wasn't the one with the lowest cultivation here. Tang Yitang was only at the early stage Eternal Realm. Even Jinming Qianbu's cultivation was lower than his. Why was he the one in the most danger? He suspected that this place had something to do with Ning Cheng. Why would he find trouble with Ning Cheng? He didn't even dare to look at Ning Cheng, let alone find trouble with him. Yi Jiufeng could see that Chuan Xinluo didn't want to kill Ning Cheng in this place, so she simply bought a favor and said with a chuckle, everyone, let's not quarrel. The nether wind in the ancient Shadow Temple has disappeared. We can go in and have a look now. Sure enough, everyone found that the nether wind in the ancient Shadow Temple had disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by a dark passageway. Guo Jingtian, who got sucked in before, had disappeared without a trace. Seeing that no one took the initiative to go in, Zhangkang Tianji snorted, since everyone is so timid, I'll be the first to go in. After saying that, Zhangkang Tianji really took the lead and entered the ancient Shadow Temple. As Zhangkang Tianji stepped into the pitch-black passageway, an incomparably hollow echo reverberated through the air, causing everyone's heart to shiver. Since Zhangkang Tianji went in, the rest naturally felt embarrassed to stay outside. Everyone then stepped into the dark passage one after another. Zhangkang Tianji's footsteps alone felt a little hollow, but with so many people stepping into the dark passage at the same time, the hollow feeling grew even stronger. It felt as if their hearts would burst open at any time. Ning Cheng was still the last to enter. At the entrance of the ancient Shadow Temple, he arranged a few ceiling arrays in a leisurely manner. Although everyone knew what Ning Cheng wanted to do, no one wanted to take the initiative to stop him. Ning Cheng didn't even put Chuan Xinluo in his eyes. From this, one could imagine that no matter who stood up to stop him, he would do the same. Not only would they not stop Ning Cheng, but they would also end up offending Ning Cheng. The dark passage wasn't very long, and more than a dozen people quickly reached the end and came to a pentagonal hall. There was also a restriction outside the hall. But by the time Ning Cheng finished arranging the array formations, the restriction had already been broken, and 5 golden boxes appeared in the 5 corners of the hall. Although the boxes in each corner were sealed by restrictions, the golden light still looked extremely dazzling. Ning Cheng always had a high awareness of snatching treasures. He immediately rushed to the box in the middle and threw out a few array flags to protect his position. Of the 5 boxes, no matter what, grabbing the one in the middle would never go wrong. Whether the treasures were ranked from left to right or right to left, the box in the middle would never be the worst. If the treasures in the middle were the best, then he would have picked up a bargain. Ning Qing reacted quickly, but the others also didn't slow down. Soon, Zhangkang Tianji, Yi Jiufeng and her attendant Shi Jinyu, Qiao Jierui, and Devil Domain's Shi Haoyan each occupied a corner. Striking order, Tang Yitang, Shen Mao, Wu Hong, Sun Jihe, Mu Hao, and Gua Sangan each occupied a corner. The only ones who didn't get anything were Chuan Xinluo, Jinming Qianbua, Fu Yingkue, and Yang Yu, Chuan Xinluo's attendant. Jinming Qianbua's strength was too low and missed the opportunity. Fu Yingkue, on the other hand, was scared out of his wits by Ning Cheng and didn't dare to snatch it. As for Chuan Xinluo and Yang Yu, they couldn't grab a corner because Ning Cheng had already snatched the thing they wanted. In fact, when the 5 boxes came out, Chuan Xinluo and Ning Cheng both had the same idea, which was to snatch the one in the middle. It's just that Ning Cheng came at the right time, and his speed was extremely fast, allowing him to snatch it before Chuan Xinluo. By the time Chuan Xinluo arrived in front of Ning Cheng had already arranged several defensive arrays around the corner. He knew that he couldn't break the restrictions and take away the box in a short time. Therefore, he decided to arrange defensive arrays to protect the box first. Get out of the way. At this time, Chuan Xinluo no longer cared about his face. He had come in with great difficulty, yet he didn't get anything, so why would he care about his face? Ning Cheng looked at Chuan Xinluo sarcastically. What's wrong? Are you ready to snatch it? Chuan Xinluo spoke up in a cold voice. You didn't even make a move against the defensive arrays of this hall. What right do you have to snatch a box? Ning Cheng laughed. I've seen shameless people before, but Chuan Xinluo, this is the first time I've seen someone as shameless as you. I didn't make a move. Are you blind? When you came in, who arranged the array formations outside? I didn't let you arrange a ceiling array formation out of kindness, yet you still shamelessly talk in front of me? Chuan Xinluo looked at Ning Cheng as if he was looking at a dead man and spoke to Yang Yu behind him. I want to see if Sect Master Ning's skills are as good as his mouth. You don't have to do anything. Yang Yu nodded and retreated. However, everyone here knew that Chuan Xinluo's words weren't meant for Yang Yu, but for the other heavenly emperors. He didn't want anyone to talk nonsense while he and Ning Cheng fought. Chapter 738. Chuan Xinluo looked very casual. He raised his hand and threw out the white pagoda in his hand. He didn't even bring out an attack-type weapon, which showed that he didn't put Ning Cheng in his eyes at all. Ning Cheng couldn't wait for Chuan Xinluo to look down on him. This time, he didn't bring out the Nirvana spear. The Nirvana spear was indeed hard, but no matter how hard the Nirvana spear was, it was still just a material. Ning Cheng brought out a semi-top-grade Dao artifact long spear, which Ning Cheng had refined when arranging the star-protecting grand array. It was also the best Dharma treasure he had refined so far. Ning Cheng's long spear hadn't fully activated when Chuan Xinluo's white pagoda emitted one white light after another. Ning Cheng relied on his starry sky body as a body forging expert and didn't care about the white light at first. However, when these white lights tore through his domain, Ning Cheng realized that something was wrong. These white lights not only easily tore through his domain, but they also contained a trace of powerful Dao charm aura. This aura made it hard for him to breathe, and it even made him want to kneel down in front of it. Chuan Xinluo hadn't even used his killer move yet, but this aura alone suppressed him to the point that he found it hard to breathe. Chuan Xinluo was too powerful. Ning Cheng originally wanted to keep the everlasting Blue Thunder City, but at this moment, how could he dare to hold back? The next moment, he brought out the everlasting Blue Thunder City. As soon as the everlasting Blue Thunder City came out, it turned into a Thunder City covered in faint thunder light. The thunder light within the Thunder City was faintly visible, but the ancient city walls on the edge of the Thunder City were clearly visible. The lightning bolts shuttling through the Thunder City gave off an astonishing aura. Pa-pa-pa-pa-pa. Chuan Xinluo's white pagoda's light bombarded Ning Cheng's everlasting Blue Thunder City and erupted with crackling sounds. In a flash, thunder light overflowed and white light exploded. Ning Cheng felt the pressure on him instantly lighten, and he finally breathed a sigh of relief. The cultivators watching from the sidelines felt shocked. not only by Chuan Xinluo's power, but also by Ning Cheng's heaven-defying Thunder City weapon. The eternal-level heavenly emperors joined forces to seal the Thunder Light, which didn't affect the hall. Good Thunder City, good weapon. Yi Jiufeng was a weapon collector. So when she saw Ning Cheng's Thunder City weapon, her eyes immediately lit up. Everyone understood that Ning Cheng wasn't Chuan Xinluo's opponent. In this exchange, Chuan Xinluo had not even used his full strength, yet Ning Cheng seemed to have taken out his trump card. Chuan Xinluo's eyes lit up when he saw Ning Cheng's Thunder City. Sect Master Ning really has a lot of treasures. You can even block the circulation of my burning sky eroding sun pagoda's Dao charm with just a Thunder City. However, if Sect Master Ning only has this much ability, then don't blame me for being impolite. Ning Cheng, Xinluo said seringly. Ning Cheng, Xinluo, Ning. Chuan Xinluo knew that Ning Cheng would quibble. Therefore, he didn't want to waste any more words with Ning Cheng and gave a cold snort. Sword Dao is like a mountain. Chi chi. A series of tearing sounds rang out as the white Dao aura around the inferno sky eroding sun pagoda instantly changed. Then, countless cyan sword lights whizzed out from the pagoda. Tens of thousands of cyan sword lights turned into a sword array, which completely locked down the space around Ning Cheng. At the same time, the Dao charm of the burning sky eroding sun pagoda connected the sword array's lights and formed a sword waterfall. Under the restraint of this sword light's Dao charm and domain, ordinary eternal cultivators couldn't even move, let alone resist. This was also a spirit technique, but it was more effective than other spirit techniques. Using one's own weapon to bring out a sword waterfall, it suppressed the space around it, leaving the opponent no room to resist. Although these sword waterfalls had fused with Chuan Xinluo's Dao charm, which allowed them to control this space, these sword waterfalls still weren't in their most powerful form. After these sword waterfalls connected, the sword waterfalls reversed and once again formed sword peaks, looking like an endless mountain range. Any living creature would turn into slag in the face of this ever-changing sword waterfall and mountain range. Ning Cheng's everlasting Blue Thunder City, under this spirit technique, looked even smaller. The sword lights extinguished one after another, and the Blue Thunder City also started to get cut down by the sword lights. Finally, the Blue Thunder City completely turned into nothingness. Rather than calling it a city, it would be better to call it a dilapidated ruin. Maximal fire. Ning Cheng remained calm. He could feel that there was still a gap between him and Chuan Xinluo. However, if Chuan Xinluo wanted to kill him so easily, it would only be a dream. Boom! A fiery explosion tore through the middle of the Sword Mountain. A violent void collapse gushed out, and the Sword Mountain and sword waterfalls condensed by Chuan Xinluo disappeared under the violent void collapse. A terrifying flame burst out from the middle of the collapse, followed by a flame mark along with an axe in tent and a spear in tent shooting out in all directions along with the flame. After the void collapse swept away 70% of the Sword Mountain that Chuan Xinluo had sent towards Ning Cheng, the fire patterns and axe in tent turned the rest into nothingness. After the explosion, the entire hall quieted down again. Ning Cheng stood in place without moving. Apart from his messy hair, no one could see that he was at a disadvantage. The burning sky eroding sun pagoda in Chuan Xinluo's hand turned a little dimmer, and he looked at Ning Cheng in disbelief. That wasn't a space-related spirit technique, but a space-related spirit technique. Yi Jiufeng sighed and spoke slowly. Qiao Jierue sneered, the laws of time are also infinitely close to it, and the laws of space are also specious. Ha, I might as well use a fake spirit technique. Wouldn't it save a lot of effort if everything was fake? No one spoke up. Everyone knew that even if Ning Cheng didn't use a real space-related spirit technique, it was still not something to be taken lightly. If it were them, they couldn't guarantee that they could block Chuan Xinluo's Sword Dao Mountain. No wonder you're so arrogant. You do have a few tricks up your sleeves. You've really mastered these fake laws. Chuan Xinluo sneered, and the burning sky eroding sun pagoda once again soared, turning into 1,000 feet tall white pagoda. If it weren't for the fact that one couldn't see the top of this hall, this burning sky eroding sun pagoda would have already burst through this place. The burning sky eroding sun pagoda directly shot towards Ningcheng, causing Ningcheng's celestial river domain to shatter like a spider web. Under the suppression of the burning sky eroding sun pagoda, the newly perfected everlasting blue thunder city also began to shrink. At the same time, the lightning arcs in the blue thunder city no longer posed any threat to the burning sky eroding sun pagoda. Catcha! A crisp sound emerged from the blue thunder city, and Ningcheng spat out a mouthful of blood. Chuan Xinluo's strength was just too strong, so strong that even with the everlasting blue thunder city, he couldn't resist it for even half a moment. Seeing Ningcheng spitting out blood, Chuan Xinluo sneered, "Do you think you can use fire? Today, I'll show you my burning sky eroding sun." Burning sky eroding sun was a spirit technique, and the burning sky eroding sun pagoda came to be because of this spirit technique. Ningcheng had angered Chuan Xinluo. Although Chuan Xinluo had other spirit techniques, he decided to use this spirit technique and the pagoda to crush Ningcheng to pieces. Not to mention Ningcheng, even the cultivators watching from the sidelines could feel a kind of difficulty in breathing. Striking Order's eyes flashed with horror. He had thought that if he and Ningcheng joined forces, even Chuan Xinluo would have to fear them. But now he realized that if Chuan Xinluo wanted to kill him, even if he and Ningcheng joined forces, it would be useless. Chuan Xinluo was too powerful, so powerful that he couldn't even imagine it. Moreover, he could already feel the pressure coming from the array against Ningcheng. If Chuan Xinluo attacked him, what would he do? He definitely couldn't stand still in the face of such a terrifying pressure like Ningcheng. This Ningcheng really wasn't simple. Fortunately, he didn't offend him. Not only Striking Order, but even Yi Jiufeng, Qiao Jierui, Zhangkang Tianji, and the others also showed fear on their faces. Chuan Xinluo rarely showed his true strength, but today, they finally realized Chuan Xinluo's true strength. Seeing Ningcheng vomiting blood under the suppression, Chuan Xinluo sneered, "Sect Master Ning, this is not my most powerful Dao Charm spirit technique. If you can hold on, I will show you what a real Dao Charm spirit technique looks like. Unfortunately, from the looks of it, you won't be able to hold on to my burning sky eroding Sunday." Chuan Xinluo's words made the hearts of Yi Jiufeng and the others sink. Yi Jiufeng had always thought that Zhangkang Tianji was the most powerful among the four of them. But now, it seems that Chuan Xinluo, who usually kept a smile on his face, was the most terrifying fellow. Boom! A burst of white flames erupted from the burning sky eroding sun pagoda. Before the flames came out, everyone could already feel the pressure. But now that the flames came out, the terrifying heat pressure became even more unbearable. Tang Yitang and Striking Order looked at Ningcheng sympathetically. In this case, even if one brought out a defensive weapon to block this terrifying burning sky eroding sun flame, it would still be difficult, let alone fight back. Striking Order made up his mind that after this matter, he would once again seek refuge with Chuan Xinluo. Even if Chuan Xinluo wanted to take away his Striking Order's starry sky, he could only let him be. Ningcheng didn't show any sadness or joy. He didn't even bring out a weapon to block Chuan Xinluo's flames. Although the burning sky eroding sun flame was powerful, as long as it didn't hit his body, it wouldn't affect his starry sky body. Just when the burning sky eroding sun pagoda and the endless white flames were about to wrap around Ningcheng, and when everyone was ready to watch Ningcheng burn to ashes, Ningcheng slowly thrust out the long spear in his hand. Ningcheng's spear thrust didn't feel like he was attacking his opponent, but rather like sending a flower to his lover. It was gentle and without any impatience. What does he want to do? Everyone looked at Ningcheng in amazement. No one knew what Ningcheng wanted to do right now. No, he didn't seem to be affected by the burning sky eroding sun, which was a bit strange. Yi Jiufeng was the first to see the difference in Ningcheng, and her eyes immediately lit up. Chuan Xinluo also felt that something was wrong. Ningcheng didn't seem to fear his burning sky eroding sun spirit technique, nor did he fear his burning sky eroding sun pagoda turning into a 1,000 feet tall mountain peak. At this moment, Chuan Xinluo felt that time around him had come to a standstill. It felt as if a dusk had risen in front of his eyes, slow and sad. Chuan Xinluo sneered. Using this pseudo-spirit technique against him, Did Ningchen go blind? But the next moment, Chuan Xinluo felt that something was wrong. He couldn't tear apart this pseudo-spirit technique. No, this wasn't a pseudo-spirit technique. This was the real laws of time. Time seemed to have come to a standstill at this moment. Even his burning sky eroding sun pagoda and burning sky eroding sun spirit technique had come to a standstill. He couldn't feel the flow of anything. When Chuan Xinluo thought of this, his consciousness also came to a standstill. Only his horrified eyes stared at Ning Cheng's slowly approaching long spear. Chapter 739. Laws of Time. This is the real laws of time spirit technique. Xiao Jirui stared at the motionless Chuan Xinluo and muttered to himself. His eyes flashed with a hint of panic. Even he couldn't control the laws of time, yet Ning Qing managed to control a trace of the laws of time. This was definitely not a fake divine ability or a fake time law. This was the true law of time, without the slightest bit of falsehood. After Xiao Jirui saw Ning Cheng's laws of time, he felt a hint of regret in his heart. He shouldn't have angered Ning Cheng for those trivial things. Since Ning Cheng could control the laws of time at such a young age, as long as he didn't fall, his future wouldn't be any smaller than Xiao Jirui's. Not only Xiao Jirui, but Yi Jiufeng, Zhangkang Tianji, and the others were also shocked. Yi Jiufeng had already planned to snatch Ning Cheng's things. But as soon as Ning Cheng's laws of time came out, the idea disappeared in an instant. Ning Cheng was much more terrifying than she had imagined. No wonder Tsang Caihe addressed him as senior. Even Striking Order Heavenly Emperor, who had the most time stones and was the closest to the laws of time, couldn't help but stare at Ning Cheng in disbelief. He couldn't understand how Ning Cheng could control the laws of time. All the people stared at Ning Cheng's slowly advancing spear, although the spear was not aimed at any one of them. But in the eyes of all the spectating cultivators, they could see a wisp of a bleak and beautiful setting sun, and they could faintly see their own dusk. The cultivators watching Ning Cheng's actions all hoped that the setting sun would not fall. Once the setting sun fell, it would feel as if their lives would come to an end, and they would no longer have a glorious moment. Ning Cheng's face remained calm, as he slowly pulled out his spear. This spear still contained all the celestial essence in it, without holding back at all. Facing a powerhouse like Chuan Xinluo, he couldn't hold back. However, this spear wasn't Ning Cheng's most powerful spirit technique. After he came into contact with the Tao of Returning to One, his most powerful move, Sunset's Twilight, was a fusion of the None to Depend On spirit technique. Any divine ability could be fused together to become one. He didn't fuse with the None to Depend On spear. He still held back. Because Chuan Xinluo was too powerful, even if he stimulated all of his celestial essence, he could only thrust his spear slowly. From this, Ning Cheng understood that if he fused with the None to Depend On spirit technique, the long spear would move even slower. His laws of time couldn't last for too long. If he fused too many spirit techniques, Chuan Xinluo might wake up before he could even get close to him. If it were an ordinary eternal cultivator, Ning Cheng's spear would have already pierced through the other party's glabella. Poof! Ning Cheng's long spear finally pierced through Chuan Xinluo's chest, causing blood to splash out. At the same time, Chuan Xinluo suddenly recovered. The burning sky eroding sun pagoda that was rushing towards Ning Cheng instantly weakened, and the white flames that rushed out also instantly dissipated. After the burning sky eroding sun pagoda weakened, it flew back rapidly and landed in a straight line. Boom! The burning sky eroding sun pagoda slammed into Ning Cheng's long spear, causing Ning Cheng's long spear to shake. Everything that was still in place suddenly came to life. Ka! Celestial essence splashed out, and Ning Cheng's long spear flew back. Ning Cheng opened his mouth and spat out another mouthful of blood. Blood overflowed from the corners of Chuan Xinluo's mouth, and his heart also started to bleed. However, he didn't care about it and still looked at Ning Cheng with a cold gaze. Sure enough, you have some capital to be arrogant. You even comprehended the real laws of time. But if that's the case, you can't do anything to me. Ning Qing remained calm, but the shock in his heart was no less than Chuan Xinluo's. Chuan Xinluo was not only a body-forging expert with a starry sky body, but he also had an inner armor within his body. Otherwise, even if that spear attack was slow, it would have severely injured Chuan Xinluo. As long as Chuan Xinluo suffered severe injuries, he felt sure that Chuan Xinluo wouldn't be able to escape. He had arranged one sealing array formation after another outside, half of which was to deal with Chuan Xinluo. Chuan Xinluo's murderous aura started to overflow, and his killing intent started to grow even stronger. Ning Qing gripped the semi-top grade Dao artifact long spear tightly, and his killing intent also started to rise. He felt sure that if Chuan Xinluo wasn't an idiot, he wouldn't attack him again after sensing his imposing aura. If Chuan Xinluo dared to attack him again, he would kill this fellow even if he had to use all his strength. In fact, if Chuan Xinluo gave up, Ning Qing wouldn't have continued. He only needed to look at the expressions of the eternal level experts around him to know that he had achieved his goal. He guessed that Sunset's twilight couldn't kill Chuan Xinluo. In fact, Sunset's twilight indeed couldn't kill Chuan Xinluo. Not only did it not kill him, but it also didn't cause any fatal damage to Chuan Xinluo. Ning Cheng's purpose in attacking Chuan Xinluo was to deter him. These eternal level experts came to his Jiangzhou star and didn't even put Ning Cheng in their eyes. They didn't even greet him. Although Ning Cheng felt angry, he couldn't do anything about it. To make these people fear his Jiangzhou star and even his mysterious yellow celestial river in the future, he had to show his true strength. Otherwise, even if he cooperated with striking order, he would still turn against him. Chuan Xinluo was the best touchstone. Today, he took out the laws of time to fight against Chuan Xinluo, which resulted in both sides suffering heavy injuries. Ning Cheng believed that from now on, as long as Ning Cheng was still alive, no one would dare to covet his Jiangzhou star. He wasn't even afraid of the 4 heavenly emperors, so why would he fear ordinary eternal level experts? Without Jiangzhou star and mysterious yellow celestial river, Ning Cheng would have chosen to kill Chuan Xinluo secretly. But not now. He had to let everyone know that he, Ning Cheng, wasn't a pushover. As Chuan Xinluo's killing intent continued to rise, so did Ning Cheng's killing intent. Ning Cheng had already connected to the 5-colored star splitter arrow on his wrist. But if he wanted to kill Chuan Xinluo, or block Chuan Xinluo, he definitely couldn't do it with his current strength. To succeed, besides the 5-colored star splitter arrow, Ning Cheng had no other trump cards. Ning Cheng's killing intent and imposing manner gradually merged with the 5-colored star splitter arrow, growing stronger and stronger. Chuan Xinluo's eyes grew more and more dignified. Ning Cheng's laws of time-related spirit technique had almost killed him. Or rather, if he wasn't a body-forging cultivator, if he didn't have that armor, would Chuan Xinluo still be Chuan Xinluo? Initially, when he recovered from the shock and decided to kill Ning Cheng, he felt the threat of death emanating from Ning Cheng. He had never felt such a feeling before, but today, he felt it from Ning Cheng. Chuan Xinluo had a bad feeling in his heart. Whether he could kill Ning Cheng or not, he would also be in danger. For the first time, Chuan Xinluo regretted fighting with Ning Cheng. He had always been cautious and would never put himself in danger. Today, with Ning Cheng's imposing manner, even if he managed to kill Ning Cheng, he would still suffer severe injuries. If it were anywhere else, it wouldn't matter much, but not here. With several heavenly emperors keeping an eye on him, once he suffered severe injuries, he would die. Did he count on his followers Yang Yu and Gua Sangan to help him? That would only be a joke. Chuan Xinluo, who understood his situation, gave a cold snort and raised his hand. The next moment, the killing power between him and Ning Cheng suddenly separated. Celestial essence bursts filled with killing intent erupted, and the oppressive confrontation between them disappeared without a trace. Ning Cheng secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Sure enough, Chuan Xinluo didn't dare to gamble. If Chuan Xinluo really dared to gamble, he would have dared to bring out the 5-colored star splitter arrow. It's just that Chuan Xinluo had taken the initiative. Therefore, Chuan Xinluo could stop the fight, but Ning Cheng couldn't. Today, For the sake of coming to Jiangzhou Star to look for treasures, this emperor will let you go. Next time, you won't have such good luck. Chuan Xinluo saw Ning Cheng slowly withdrawing his killing intent and felt slightly relieved before speaking with a cold voice. He truly feared that Ning Cheng was an idiot who would ignore the surrounding threats and fight to the death with him in this place. Xiao Jirue, on seeing that Ning Cheng and Chuan Xinluo didn't fight to the death, felt a little disappointed. But after seeing Ning Cheng's strength, he didn't dare to ridicule him again. As for Chuan Xinluo's words, no one laughed at him. Everyone had seen the situation clearly. Although Ning Cheng didn't fear Chuan Xinluo still had the upper hand. Ning Cheng spoke up calmly, Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor's words are really strange. First, I, Ning Cheng, never need anyone to let me go. Second, it seems that Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor took the initiative to attack me, and now you say that you'll let me go. Hehe, does Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor think that only the two of us are here? Do you think that I'm the only one who can hear what you said? After Ning Cheng's words came out, even Zhangkang Tianji's eyes showed a hint of seriousness. Since Ning Cheng dared to say such provocative words, it meant that he truly didn't fear Chuan Xinluo. Otherwise, if Chuan Xinluo let him go, he would have definitely stopped and wouldn't have said such words to start a fight. Chuan Xinluo felt a slight thump in his heart. He also thought that if he took the initiative to stop, Ning Cheng would know how powerful he was. He didn't stop because he feared Ning Cheng, but because he was worried about the people around him. But now that Ning Cheng still acted so domineering even after he stopped, the only possibility was that Ning Cheng didn't fear him at all. Ning Cheng also had a more powerful trump card. Thinking about Ning Cheng's increasingly tyrannical aura, Chuan Xinluo frowned and spoke up, since you want to court death, I'll accompany you. Although Chuan Xinluo could judge the situation, he would never let a junior like Ning Cheng suppress him. Ning Cheng showed a faint smile, Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor is so powerful. Although I don't fear you, I also don't want to fight you to the death. Ning Cheng showed a faint smile, Heavenly Emperor Leveled Heart is quite powerful. Although I do not fear you, I do not want to end up in a mutually destructive situation with you. Although I'm not that popular, I always remember the people who act arrogantly in my territory. Although I don't have a lot of people, I always remember people who act arrogantly in my territory. One died just now, and another. Fu Yingkue had long since felt scared by Ning Cheng's powerful spirit technique. Coupled with the fact that Ning Cheng kicked him, he felt an inexplicable fear of Ning Cheng. Now that he saw Ning Cheng's gaze sweep over, how could he not know that Ning Cheng was talking about him? Seeing Chuan Xinluo frown and not helping him, Fu Yingkue's heart sank. With Ning Cheng's strength against Chuan Xinluo, Fu Yingkue would only end up dead if he went up. Without waiting for Ning Cheng to speak, he quickly cupped his fists and said, I've offended Brother Ning before. Even if Brother Ning didn't say anything, I still feel guilty. After all, I came to Brother Ning's ancient shadow temple and took advantage of Brother Ning. I decided to give my silver feather starry skies profound cloud celestial river to Brother Ning. I hope Brother Ning will not refuse. Ning Cheng put away his killing intent and said with a smile, I've long since forgotten about the things Heavenly Emperor Yingkue said. But many thanks for Heavenly Emperor Yingkue's generosity. You know that I've just arrived in the starry sky and don't have many places to live. Since Heavenly Emperor Yingkue is so enthusiastic, I won't be polite. Many thanks, Heavenly Emperor Yingkue. Chuan Xinluo looked calm, but he had already killed Fu Yingkue 1,000 times in his heart. If someone else had forced Fu Yingkue to give up his territory, he could have taken it back. But this Ning Cheng was too strong. As long as he didn't kill Ning Cheng, he could forget about taking advantage of Ning Cheng. Chapter 740. Striking Order Heavenly Emperor, on seeing Ning Cheng's strength, felt both excited and worried. Although it was good for Ning Cheng to be strong, Ning Cheng was too strong. If one day, he took a fancy to his Striking Order Starry Sky, would he end up like Fu Yingkue and give Striking Order Starry Sky to Ning Cheng? However, Striking Order Heavenly Emperor quickly put these thoughts aside. Whether Ning Cheng took a fancy to his striking order Starry Sky or not, he had to cooperate with Ning Cheng. If he didn't cooperate, Chuan Xinluo would definitely take striking order Starry Sky. Previously, he worried that Chuan Xinluo would kill Ning Cheng in seconds, but now he found that his worries were unnecessary. Ning Cheng's strength had far exceeded his imagination. Moreover, Ning Cheng seemed to have a personality of not attacking people if they didn't offend him. Initially, he wanted to give named descendant Celestial River to Ning Cheng, but Ning Cheng didn't want it. It was only after he persuaded Ning Cheng to accept it. In other words, if not for named descendant Celestial River's Ji clan taking the initiative to provoke Ning Cheng wouldn't even want stately River Star. With such a proud person, as long as he didn't do anything secretly, how could the other party snatch his striking order Starry Sky? With the confrontation between Ning Cheng and Chuan Xinluo coming to an end, Xiao Jierui and the others began to bombard the restrictions in the corners and prepared to take away the golden chests. Ning Cheng naturally didn't show any weakness and also began to bombard the restrictions in the corners. Although Chuan Xinluo felt unhappy, he didn't continue to stop Ning Cheng. He knew that if he tried to stop Ning Cheng, the two would definitely end up fighting. Ning Cheng didn't even put him, a heavenly emperor, in his eyes. Of the 5 chests, except for Zhangkang Tianji and Ning Cheng, who dealt with the restrictions alone, the others all had 2 or more restrictions. Zhangkang Tianji had extraordinary strength, and every time he attacked, a crack would appear on the defensive restrictions. Moreover, no one here could match Ning Cheng's understanding of the Tao of arrays. Therefore, every time he attacked, he would hit the key points of the restrictions. When the others opened the restrictions, Ning Cheng also took the chests. Zhangkang Tianji didn't put away the chests but put them in front of him and said, "Let's all open the chests. Maybe the real treasures in the ancient Shadow Temple have something to do with these chests. What do you think?" The real treasures of the ancient Shadow Temple were naturally not these chests. It's just that apart from these chests, there was no other way out of the main hall. Xiao Jierui and Yi Jiufeng hesitated for a moment before speaking up at the same time, "No problem." Wu Hong, striking order, and the others teamed up to obtain a box. Although they didn't know how to distribute it, it naturally wouldn't be a problem. When Ning Cheng saw that everyone was looking at him, he also spoke up, "I naturally have no problem with it." Even if there was a problem, he had to agree. Offending Chuan Xinluo and establishing his prestige for others to see was not a bad thing. However, if he dared to offend everyone here, it wouldn't be establishing his prestige anymore. It would be courting death. Zhangkang Tianji was the first to open the box. Inside the box, there was only a palm-sized piece of dark gray wood. Reincarnation Soul Wood. When Zhangkang Tianji took out the wooden piece, Yi Jiufeng, Chuan Xinluo and the others screamed out almost at the same time. Ning Cheng also looked at the piece of wood in Zhangkang Tianji's hand in shock. He naturally knew about the Reincarnation Soul Wood. The Reincarnation Soul Wood was a heaven-defying treasure. It was a priceless treasure. In terms of value, it wasn't inferior to the best treasures in the slightest. The only use of the Reincarnation Soul Wood was to reincarnate at the moment of death. Moreover, after reincarnation, one would retain a trace of their past life's memories. As one's cultivation continued to improve, one's memories would gradually recover. One could say that this was a treasure that any cultivator dreamed of obtaining. Although Zhangkang Tianji felt happy that he obtained the Reincarnation Soul Wood, he didn't feel ecstatic. For him, he would never reincarnate. Therefore, no matter how important this soul wood was, it wasn't practical. When Ning Cheng saw Zhangkang Tianji's expression, he secretly made up his mind to wait for an opportunity to exchange the soul wood in Zhangkang Tianji's hands. Seeing Zhangkang Tianji obtain the Reincarnation Soul Wood, Xiao Jierui couldn't wait to open the box in front of him. Inside the box, there was only a dark-colored high-necked jade bottle. Xiao Jierui raised his hand and tried to grab the jade bottle. However, he felt an extremely heavy force that prevented him from grabbing it. Xiao Jierui gave a snort, and with a surge of celestial essence, he grabbed the jade bottle again. Holding the jade bottle in his hand, he unplugged the jade bottle. Although Qiao Jirue couldn't call it out, Yi Jiufeng helped him call it out. Single essence heavy water. Chuan Xinluo clenched his fists. Everything in this place was so heaven-defying. Not to mention the reincarnation soul wood, even this single essence heavy water was a priceless treasure. A drop of single essence heavy water was equivalent to the weight of a small planet. Just a drop of it could be refined into a top-grade weapon. However, he didn't even get a single golden box. Ning Cheng also felt a little fiery in his heart. This place truly had a lot of treasures. If he had the single essence heavy water, he could even add a drop to his good fortune spirit spear. At that time, the power of the good fortune spirit spear would definitely increase by a lot. Yi Jiufeng looked a little excited as she opened the golden box in front of her. It contained only a very ordinary-looking talisman. Yi Jiufeng grabbed the talisman with some disappointment. Why did the things in her box look so bad? Qiao Jirue secretly felt proud of himself. Yi Jiufeng was an expert in collecting weapons and loved all kinds of weapons. But now, the thing she obtained was just an ordinary talisman, which was really ironic. Ning Qing clenched his fists. In his opinion, the thing in Yi Jiufeng's box was the most useful. It was a child talisman of the opening heaven talisman. How precious was the opening heaven talisman? One could even say that it was a treasure that could split the heavens and split the earth. Moreover, there was a child talisman of the opening heaven talisman in this box. From this, one could tell that the ancient shadow temple was not simple. Yi Jiufeng and the others might not know about the child talisman of the opening heaven talisman, but he did. He had even used this thing before. After using it, there was a child talisman of the opening heaven talisman that had lost its Dao charm. Oh, why is my luck so bad? Why did I end up with such a broken talisman? Yi Jiufeng grabbed the child talisman of the opening heaven talisman and sighed. Chuan Xinluo suddenly showed a smile and said, "If junior apprentice Sister Nine Phoenix doesn't like this talisman, you might as well trade it with me. I really like these weird talismans." Yi Jiufeng's eyes turned. Does senior apprentice brother leveled heart really want this talisman? If senior apprentice brother leveled heart can give me the soil that contains the breath soil, then this talisman. Not waiting for Yi Jiufeng to finish, Ning Cheng also smiled and said, "Senior apprentice Sister Nine Phoenix, I'm also very interested in this talisman. Of course, I would also like to exchange it with senior apprentice Sister Nine Phoenix. But I don't know what senior apprentice Sister Nine Phoenix likes." Being able to control a grand starry sky, Yi Jiufeng naturally was not an idiot. When Chuan Xinluo proposed an exchange, she had already guessed that this talisman was not ordinary. The reason why she proposed the soil that contained the breath soil was to see if Chuan Xinluo would agree to it or not. If Chuan Xinluo agreed, then it meant that the value of this talisman might be even higher than she guessed. Regardless of whether Chuan Xinluo agreed or not, she, Yi Jiufeng, would never exchange it before she figured out the origin of this talisman. Now that Ning Cheng also proposed an exchange, she became even more convinced that her talisman was not ordinary. Others might think that Ning Cheng and Chuan Xinluo didn't get along with each other, so he deliberately went against Chuan Xinluo. However, Yi Jiufeng didn't think so. "Oh, I like powerful little brothers like you the most. Why don't you accompany this elder sister for a few days, and this elder sister will give you this talisman, what's the harm?" Yi Jiufeng said while putting away the talisman in her hand. Standing next to Yi Jiufeng, the tall and handsome male cultivator named Shi Jinyu had an ugly expression on his face. Apparently, Yi Jiufeng's flirting with Ning Cheng made him feel very dissatisfied. However, whether it was Yi Jiufeng or Ning Cheng, he couldn't afford to offend them. Seeing Yi Jiufeng put away the talisman, Chuan Xinluo only glanced at Ning Cheng before looking at Striking Order and the others. Striking Order Heavenly Emperor took in a deep breath and cupped his fists towards Heavenly Emperor Shen Mao of Snapping Ascension Starry Sky. "Brother Shen Mao, you can open this box." Shen Mao showed a smile. "In that case, I won't be polite." After saying that, he raised his hand and opened the golden box in front of him. A dazzling red light shot out, revealing a red jade box inside the golden box. The jade box gave off a red glow, indicating that it was not an ordinary item. Shen Mao picked up the jade box and opened it again. A red fruit the size of a baby's fist lay inside the jade box. A faint fragrance overflowed from it, and the cultivators who smelled this fragrance immediately felt refreshed. It felt as if their cultivation had improved imperceptibly, giving them a refreshing feeling. On the surface of the red fruit, one could vaguely see one Dao pattern after another, giving it a mysterious appearance. Is this the legendary Dao fruit? Although Yi Jiufeng didn't recognize the opening Heaven Child talisman in her hand, she had a lot of knowledge about other things. Qiao Jirue took in a deep breath and spoke up slowly, yes, this is definitely a Dao fruit. I heard that Daoist Crow obtained a Dao fruit and successfully confirmed his Dao, allowing him to leave this positional plane. If he could, he would rather use his single essence heavy water to exchange for this Dao fruit. For people at their level of cultivation, a Dao fruit that could help them perceive Dao marks had an inestimable value. Who should take care of this fruit? Sun Jihe spoke up from the side. Although she felt excited, she also knew that this Dao fruit would never become her personal possession. I think it's better to hand this Dao fruit over to Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor for safekeeping. After this matter is over, we can talk about the distribution. Gua Sangan also had a small piece of this Dao fruit, so it was not unexpected for him to put forward such a proposal. However, everyone knew that Gua Sangan was Chuan Xinluo's follower. Therefore, it would be strange if this Dao fruit came out of Chuan Xinluo's hands. Striking order Heavenly Emperor looked at Ning Cheng, and the rest of the people also looked at Ning Cheng. Apparently, they wanted Ning Cheng to raise an objection so that Chuan Xinluo couldn't keep this Dao fruit. Ning Cheng sighed in his heart. He didn't want to stand out like a bird. He also didn't want Chuan Xinluo to obtain this Dao fruit. In case Chuan Xinluo obtained this Dao fruit, his strength would definitely double. But if he raised an objection at this time, Chuan Xinluo would never tolerate it. It would be a life-and-death battle. Chuan Xinluo could tolerate it, but he would never tolerate Ning Cheng blocking his path to Dao confirming. Or rather, Chuan Xinluo didn't know that this golden chest contained such a treasure. If he knew about it, even if he had some scruples, he would have forcibly continued to snatch it from Ning Cheng. He wasn't Chuan Xinluo's opponent. Therefore, standing up at this time would only mean helping others as a spear. Chapter 741. Only 4 people had the qualifications to stop Chuan Xinluo: Zhangkang Tianji, Qiao Jirue, Yi Jiufeng, and Ning Cheng. The first 3 all obtained the golden chests and had not openly fallen out with Chuan Xinluo. Therefore, it was impossible for them to come out and stop Chuan Xinluo. Ning Cheng also obtained the golden chest, which meant that he was the only cultivator who had fallen out with Chuan Xinluo. If anyone wanted to stop him, then only Ning Cheng could stand up and stop him. But since Ning Cheng didn't stand up, Chuan Xinluo obtained the Dao fruit without any accident. After Chuan Xinluo put away the Dao fruit, he felt relieved in his heart. What worried him the most was that Ning Cheng would stand up and stop him. Just like Ning Cheng feared him, he also feared Ning Cheng. Now that Ning Cheng didn't stand up to stop him, he naturally felt relieved in his heart. Of the 5 golden chests, 4 had already been opened, causing everyone to stare at Ning Cheng's golden chest. Ning Cheng knew that he couldn't open the golden chest alone. Therefore, he had to open it in this place. The first 4 chests all contained top-quality treasures, which made Ning Cheng look forward to seeing what was inside his chest. The chest opened, revealing a 3-inch tall black gourd inside. The gourd looked ordinary, and ordinary spiritual consciousness could easily sweep into it. It didn't have any Dao charm, nor any aura, just an ordinary gourd. What is this? This time, even Yi Jiufeng couldn't recognize the gourd in Ning Cheng's hand. Ning Cheng reached out and grabbed the gourd. The gourd felt a bit cold, but his spiritual consciousness swept over the gourd a few times and didn't find any abnormalities. Turning the gourd upside down, he saw 2 words at the bottom of the gourd: boundless. I think this gourd is good. If Sect Master Ning doesn't want it, you can give it to me. Yi Jiufeng saw Ning Cheng's disappointment and immediately spoke up with a smile. Ning Cheng unhurriedly put away the gourd and spoke, Senior Apprentice Sister 9 Phoenix, if you want this gourd then you can give me that talisman, and then give me a branch of the Wind Thunder Apricot tree, I will exchange it with you. Yi Jiufen giggled, but before she could speak, everyone heard a creaking sound coming from the middle of the hall. Everyone in the hall quickly moved to the side, and soon, the originally plain pentagonal hall slowly opened up to the sides, revealing a dark public square under everyone's feet. Everyone stood at the 5 corners of the main hall and looked down. It was as if they were standing on a skyscraper and looking down at the ground below. Under the dim light of the surroundings, the pitch-black square appeared gloomy and deep. The cold and gloomy aura constantly rushed up, giving people a very uncomfortable feeling. From this pentagonal hall to the plaza below, there were no stairs, nor was there any place to borrow strength. Other than flying down, there was no other way. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out at the bottom of the well in this pitch-black public square and realized that the spiritual consciousness in this place was sealed. Even with his starry sky sea of consciousness, his spiritual consciousness felt severely restricted. However, this was not a problem for him, whether he used the twin wings of the heavenly clouds or directly jumped down, he would not suffer even half a point of injury. I'll go down and have a look. After Zhangkang Tianji said that, he jumped down without hesitation. Zhangkang Tianji landed in the middle of the square below the grand hall, producing a loud rumble. Although he did not use any flying spells, Zhangkang Tianji jumped down from dozens of floors, but he was not hurt at all. After Zhangkang Tianji jumped down, the rest of the people also followed suit. In fact, even if they could not use their celestial essence or spiritual consciousness, it would not cause any harm to these eternal-level experts. However, Ning Qing knew that it was not a matter of the height of the building, but that this place was similar to the dry well he had encountered in the Time Wilderness. After jumping down, he found himself in a pit. Not only did it exceed the height of the building, but it also had a strong suction force. Kacha, kacha. As everyone jumped down, 5 or 6 people's leg bones broke one after another. Tang Yitang, Yang Yu, Shi Jinyu, and a few others had slightly weaker cultivation, so their leg bones all broke. However, for eternal-level cultivators, breaking leg bones did not affect them at all. In just a few breaths, they would fully recover. Ning Cheng was a body-forging expert with a starry sky body. Therefore, he did not even use the twin wings of the heavenly clouds to land on the public square. Xiao Jierue looked at Ning Cheng and smiled, no wonder Sect Master Ning could make brother-leveled hearts stop. This body-forging strength might even surpass brother-leveled hearts. Chuan Xinlo remained expressionless, as if he had not heard it at all. Ning Qing spoke up in a calm voice, I don't know if I'm stronger than leveled heart Heavenly Emperor, but I'm sure that I'm stronger than you. Xiao Jierue gave a cold snort and no longer tried to incite discord. The rest of the people did not pay any attention to Xiao Jierue's provocation. Everyone's attention was focused on the top of the public square. Above this dark public square, there was a paper door. Gusts of nether wind blew over the paper door, causing it to make a crashing sound. Moreover, the paper door did not show any signs of breaking apart from the crashing sounds caused by the nether wind. Moreover, there were 4 words above the paper door, Hell's Gate. Before everyone could figure out what was going on, a violent nether wind suddenly blew over the dark public square. At this moment, even Ning Cheng's subtle spiritual consciousness could not stretch out due to the violent nether wind. The violent nether wind quickly swept towards the position where everyone stood. Under this wind, no one had any way to escape except for bringing out their weapons. Ning Cheng immediately brought out his everlasting Blue Thunder City, followed by Chuan Xinlo and the others bringing out their weapons. As for those with lower cultivation, because of the severe suppression on their spiritual consciousness, they couldn't even bring out their weapons in a hurry. A few screams erupted, and Ning Cheng saw 4 or 5 people being swept away by the nether wind. Even if they were in the eternal realm, they couldn't stop this terrifying nether wind. As for where these 4 or 5 people ended up, no one knew. The violent nether winds around the public square finally converged together. The 2 eternal cultivators, who had not been swept away by the nether winds, turned into a pile of bones in an instant. The nether winds came and went quickly. In just a dozen breaths, the nether winds that swept over the dark public square disappeared. However, half of the people on the public square had disappeared. Tang Yitang, who came with striking order, Yang Yu, who came with Chuan Xinluo, Shi Jinyu, the handsome man behind Yi Jiufeng, Jinming Qianbua, Fu Yingkui, Shi Haoyan, Heavenly Emperor Wu Hong and a few others had all disappeared. Only the 4 Starry Sky Emperors, Ning Cheng, Striking Order, Shen Mao, Mu Hao, Sun Jihe and Gua Sangan remained on the public square. Some bones were piled up in the middle of the public square, but no one knew who left them behind. Apart from Ning Cheng, who was in the life and death realm, Striking Order and Gua Sangan had the lowest cultivation, middle stage eternal realm. Although the 2 of them had escaped the disaster, their faces had turned ashen, and they looked embarrassed. Even Starry Sky Emperor Sun Jihe, a late-stage eternal cultivator from Water Immortal Starry Sky, had an ugly expression on her face, and her hair and clothes looked disheveled. It looks like we should get out of here first. This place is too scary. Zhangkang Tianji said with a sigh. How do we get out? There is no way out of this place. Yi Jiufeng's tone didn't sound good. She regretted jumping in. Now that they were in this dark public square and their spiritual consciousness was restricted, it would be impossible to fly up again. After obtaining that treasure from the Pentagonal Hall and appearing in the plaza, no one was willing to be left behind. Otherwise, with everyone's cautiousness, how could they all jump down? Yi Jiufeng's voice had just fallen when a burst of whimpering sounds rang out around the public square. Everyone knew that the horrifying nether wind would sweep over once again. Striking Order Heavenly Emperor came to Ning Cheng's side with some fear. Brother Ning, I'm afraid I can't escape this second wave of nether wind. Ning Cheng understood Striking Order's meaning and nodded. Brother Striking Order, you don't have to worry. My Thunder City still has some use. Brother Striking Order can stay behind me. Gua Sangang quickly arrived behind Chuan Xinluo on seeing this. This was not the time to care about face. If they got caught in this nether wind, they would definitely die. If they got swept up by this nether wind, they would either end up in a pile of bones or end up as skeletons. Sun Jihe looked at Ning Cheng's side with envy. In this place, the best weapon to block the nether wind was naturally Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder fort. Next was Chuan Xinluo's burning sky eroding sun pagoda. However, she didn't have any friendship with Ning Cheng, so she could only rely on her own strength to resist it. The whimpering nether wind blew over again, and this time, it even took on a substantial form. This was the first time Ning Cheng had seen a substantial wind, and it was a nether wind at that. Whimpering sounds erupted. Even if Ning Cheng brought out the everlasting blue thunder fort, which had a suppressive effect on the nether wind, he still felt uncomfortable all over. It felt as if his mind was about to leave his body, and this kind of feeling kept surging up in his mind. Ning Cheng secretly felt horrified in his heart. No wonder even those eternal-level experts got swept away by the nether wind. It wasn't just that one couldn't block this terrifying nether wind, but once one got swept up by this nether wind, one's essence spirit would immediately dissipate. With one's essence spirit dissipating, coupled with the suppression of one's spiritual consciousness and cultivation, it would be a wonder if anything good could happen in the end. Blue lightning flashed within the everlasting blue thunder fort. After the everlasting blue thunder fort blocked the nether wind, the lightning arcs once again bombarded it and quickly swept it away from Ning Cheng's side. Ning Cheng had just breathed in a sigh of relief when he heard Gua Sangan scream, piercing heart. Gua Sangan only managed to call out 2 words before his voice abruptly stopped. Apparently, the nether wind had swept him away. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness was the most powerful in this place. Therefore, he could clearly see Chuan Xinluo pushing Gua Sangan. After a dozen breaths, the nether wind finally calmed down, and another person disappeared. Gua Sangan had disappeared, and Ning Cheng saw him being swept away by the nether wind with his own eyes. Ning Cheng's face remained calm. He knew that when Gua Sangan was swept away by the nether wind, not only did Chuan Xinluo not save him, but Chuan Xinluo also plotted against him from behind. Gua Sangan was Chuan Xinluo's little brother. Even if Chuan Xinlo obtained the Dao fruit, it was only because of Gua Sangan's suggestion that he had the chance. It stood to reason that Chuan Xinlo had to save Gua Sangan. But in fact, not only did Chuan Xinlo not save Gua Sangan, but he also pushed Gua Sangan. Chapter 742. Ning Cheng's thoughts raced a little before he understood the mystery behind it. Chuan Xinlo truly had a thick heart. He had even used Gua Sangan to deal with him before. It's just that Chuan Xinlo didn't expect that he wasn't an ant that he could easily crush. Gua Sangan didn't have the ability to deal with Ning Cheng at all. Now that Chuan Xinlo obtained the Dao fruit, as long as he went back into seclusion, he would most likely take another step forward. At this time, Chuan Xinlo hoped that nothing unexpected would happen. For Chuan Xinlo, Ning Cheng was just an accident. Once everyone got out of here, he would most likely find trouble with Gua Sangan. Since Gua Sangan wasn't his opponent, he could only seek shelter from Chuan Xinlo. Chuan Xinlo, as Gua Sangan's elder brother, naturally couldn't sit back and watch Ning Cheng destroy Gua Sangan. It's just that Chuan Xinlo didn't have the confidence to kill him. How could Chuan Xinlo get injured at this critical moment when he obtained the Dao fruit and was about to reach Dao-confirming realm? Not only could he not get injured, but he also didn't want to offend Ning Cheng. Since Chuan Xinlo didn't want to offend him, he could only let Gua Sangan disappear. Chuan Xinlo didn't expect Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness to be so powerful that he could see his small movements amidst the nether winds. Ning Cheng sighed in his heart. Compared to these heavenly emperors, he was as kind as a blank piece of paper. If this goes on, none of us will survive. Yi Jiufeng's face turned gloomy. The nether winds grew stronger and stronger, and she wasn't wrong in her words. Sun Jihe subconsciously moved closer to Ning Cheng. Her clothes had already been torn apart by the nether winds, and her face had turned ugly. If it came a third time, maybe only Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder fort could stop it. She approached Ning Cheng intending to seek shelter from Ning Cheng, just like striking order. However, she was a starry sky heavenly emperor and had nothing to do with Ning Cheng. This time, without Ning Cheng's consent, she was too embarrassed to ask for help. Zhangkang Tianji and Xiao Jierui didn't speak, apparently agreeing with Yi Jiufeng's words. But even if they agreed, if they couldn't come up with a good solution, they couldn't do anything about it. Sect Master Ning, the ancient Shadow Temple is your stately river star's territory. Do you have a good idea? Yi Jiufeng saw that no one could come up with a solution, so she looked at Cheng and asked. Ning Cheng looked at the paper door in the distance, but before he could speak, another burst of sobbing sounds could be heard. It was obvious that the third wave of Yin wind would blow over soon. Everyone's face turned ugly, and Sun Jihe, who had a weaker cultivation base, turned pale. She had just entered the late-stage eternal realm, and it wasn't easy for her to persist until now. Otherwise, with her identity as a heavenly emperor, how could she seek shelter from Ning Cheng? There is no way out of this place. Even if we find a way out at the edge of the square, it will be too late. My idea is to enter the gates of hell first. As soon as Ning Cheng's words came out, all the people were shocked. Enter the gates of hell. When the chilly wind came, it seemed that there was also a hell's gate in this paper door. Wouldn't it be courting death if you were to enter a place where evil winds wreaked havoc? After Ning Cheng made this decision, he did not wait for the others to answer, and immediately rushed towards the Hell's Gate. It had nothing to do with him whether others came in or not. He would go in first. Seeing Ning Cheng rush into the Hell's Gate, striking order only hesitated for a moment before rushing in after Ning Cheng. Since Ning Cheng had already left, staying here would only lead to death. Therefore, he might as well follow behind Ning Cheng. Sun Jihe, Mu Hao, and the others also rushed in. As the whimpers of the chilly wind grew louder and louder, Chuan Xinlo and the others had no choice but to rush into the Hell's Gate. As Ning Cheng said, apart from the Hell's Gate, there was really no other place to go. After everyone entered the paper door closed with a squeak. Apart from the rustling sound of the paper on the paper door from the outside, everyone's divine sense could no longer sense anything in the square outside. An incomparably huge pool appeared in front of everyone. The water in this pool was like ink, black and shiny. Ning Cheng's suppressed spiritual consciousness could not see through the bottom of the pool. At the edge of the pool, there was a stone tablet with 3 black characters carved on it, Yellow Spring Pool. There were 2 doors on the opposite side of the Yellow Spring Pool, one of which had a red, Life character written on it. It looked bloody and horrifying, while the other door had a black, Death character written on it. Whether it was the Life character or the Death character, it made people feel uncomfortable looking at it. Apart from the 2 doors and the pool, there was nothing else here. There are only 2 doors of life and death here. Whether we go in or not, we have no way out. Zhangkang Tianji spoke with a deep voice. No one answered Zhangkang Tianji's words. No matter which door they entered, it would not be a simple matter. The rattling sound of the paper door outside became even clearer. It felt as if the paper door would break open in the next moment, allowing the chilly wind to sweep in. Zhangkang Tianji gave a snort. In that case, I'll be leaving first. With that, Zhangkang Tianji rushed into the death gate. As soon as Zhangkang Tianji entered, a wave of yin qi swept over, and Zhangkang Tianji's aura completely disappeared. No one spoke, and no one felt that Zhangkang Tianji chose the death gate. I'm leaving too. Yi Jiufeng finished and rushed in. In this narrow place, it felt too depressing. If it were just depressing, it would have been fine. But as soon as everyone came in, they felt the aura of death. One could say that the longer they stayed in this place, the heavier the oppressive aura of death became. Even if everyone here was an eternal cultivator, they couldn't resist the 6th sense of death. One couldn't say that Zhangkang Tianji chose the wrong door. Although he entered the death gate, who could say for sure which of the 2 doors of life and death would lead to survival? Moreover, the cold aura from the Life gate and the bloody Life character made people feel uncomfortable. However, not everyone had the same thoughts as Zhangkang Tianji. Yi Jiufeng chose the Life gate. Similarly, after she entered, she disappeared without a trace, without any aura. Chuan Xinluo glanced at Ning Qing coldly and rushed into the death gate without hesitation. Apparently, he and Zhangkang Tianji shared the same view. The death gate was much safer. With 3 of the 4 heavenly emperors leaving, the rest rushed in one after another. Qiao Jierue also entered the death gate, while striking order, Shen Mao and Mu Hao rushed into the life gate. In just a few breaths, only Ning Cheng and Sun Jihe remained in the room. The sound of the nether wind hitting the paper door grew louder and louder. Every time it slammed into the paper door, it made people feel a little flustered. Sun Jihe looked at Ning Cheng and asked carefully, Sect Master Ning, I really didn't come here to help Sangon. I came here purely for the ancient Shadow Temple. If I had known that I wouldn't get anything in here and might even die, I definitely wouldn't have come here. Ning Cheng showed a slight smile. Senior apprentice Sister Sun worries too much. I never thought that senior apprentice Sister Sun would come here to help Sangon or anyone else. Many thanks for Sect Master Ning's magnanimity. If this Sun Jihe doesn't die this time, I will definitely make a special trip to the mysterious yellow sect to thank. Sun Jihe hadn't finished her words when the violent nether wind hit them again. Ning Qing felt moved and brought out the everlasting blue thunder fort to help Sun Jihe block it. As the nether wind passed, Sun Jihe spoke up gratefully, many thanks for Sect Master Ning's help. Why don't Sect Master Ning leave this place together? Ning Qing shook his head, senior apprentice Sister Sun can go first. I'll take a while to prepare. After that, Ning Qing added, I think the death gate is safer. Of course, it's just my intuition. Ning Qing knew that Sun Jihe wanted to ask him which gate to enter, but Sun Jihe wasn't sure. When Sun Jihe heard Ning Cheng's words, she quickly thanked him, many thanks, Sect Master Ning. I'll take my leave first. With that, Sun Jihe's figure flashed and disappeared into the death gate. She really listened to Ning Cheng's words and entered the death gate. After everyone left, Ning Cheng didn't enter any of the gates. Instead, he stared at the pitch-black pool in front of him. If it weren't for the familiar aura he felt from the pool, he would have entered one of the gates by now. This was because he had sensed a familiar aura from the pool when he had arrived. Moreover, he now remembered what this aura was. It was Grey Tutut's aura. Grey Toot Toot had followed him for many years, and he later placed Grey Toot Toot with Rulan. Grey Toot Toot had helped Rulan find cultivation resources, but it ended up running away. Because Grey Toot Toot had disappeared around Covered Snow City, Ning Cheng had searched for a few days but couldn't find any clues. What he didn't expect was that he would feel Grey Tutut's aura in this pitch-black yellow spring pool. With Grey Tutut's strength, it was impossible for him to come here by himself. Now that Grey Toot Toot appeared here, it meant that someone else must have brought him here. Since someone could bring Grey Toot Toot here, it meant that the ancient Shadow Temple wasn't as simple as it looked on the surface. If Grey Toot Toot hadn't followed him for a long time and helped Rulan find cultivation resources, Ning Cheng wouldn't have stayed here. This place gave him a very dangerous aura. Even if it was dangerous, he couldn't leave Grey Toot Toot behind after knowing that Grey Toot Toot was here. Ning Cheng directly brought out the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort and jumped into the yellow spring pool. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness was much stronger than other eternal cultivators, but he still couldn't penetrate the bottom of the yellow spring pool with his spiritual consciousness. To find Grey Toot Toot, he had no other way but to enter the yellow spring pool himself. As soon as Ning Cheng entered the yellow spring pool, the cold aura that could suck away one's essence spirit quickly attacked him. The everlasting Blue Thunder Fort was Ning Cheng's premier weapon. Therefore, even without an artifact spirit, Ning Cheng could still use the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort to split open the pitch-black pool water around him. The yellow spring pool didn't look deep. But after Ning Cheng came in, he felt that the pool was like a bottomless pit with no end. Ning Cheng held the Nirvana spear tightly and slowly sank to the bottom of the pool. The closer he got to the bottom of the pool, the colder he felt. It wasn't just the natural cold, but a kind of cold that permeated one's essence spirit and soul. Chapter 743. Ning Cheng didn't know how long it took, he only knew that his everlasting Blue Thunder Fort was constantly shrinking. When the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort shrunk to less than a foot in radius, his feet finally touched the ground. The flagstones under his feet were all dark red, as if they were stained with blood. Bursts of whimpering screams rang out around him, but Ning Cheng couldn't catch where these sounds came from. Ning Cheng ignored the sounds around him and continued to follow Grey Tutut's aura. Although the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort blocked the black water around the yellow spring pond, Ning Cheng still left a deep footprint on the dark red flagstones with every step he took. The whimpering nether winds surrounded the Blue Thunder Fort, but every time it got close to the Blue Thunder Fort, it would be blasted away by some lightning. Ning Cheng secretly rejoiced that he had the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort. If not for the Blue Thunder Fort, he would have already been swept away by this cold aura. Even with the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort, Ning Cheng knew that he couldn't stay here for long. Once his everlasting Blue Thunder Fort was compressed to the extreme, he would have to rely on his own body to resist the Yin Qi in this place. After half an incense stick worth of time, Ning Cheng stopped. He saw a blood river under the yellow spring pond. This blood river and the black water of the yellow spring pond were clearly separated and had nothing to do with each other. They simply couldn't merge together. Above this blood river, there was a pale white stone arch bridge that spanned across the blood river. Ning Cheng stood at the bridge's head and vaguely saw a burst of nether winds rolling on the other side of the bridge. The mournful whimpering aura continued to howl endlessly. But this was just a vague scene, and he couldn't really see the specific situation on the other side. The bridge was shrouded in a cold aura, which made people feel intimidated. 5 words were engraved on the stone tablet at the bridge's head: First Bridge of Coping. Ning Cheng carefully stepped onto the pale white stone arch bridge. Every step he took felt like stepping on a hollow place. But even after his feet touched the ground, he was still on the bridge. This made Ning Cheng even more careful. He had only taken a few steps when he saw a vague figure. Gua Sangon. Ning Cheng recognized this figure at a glance. It was Gua Sangon. He had seen Gua Sangon being pushed into the nether winds by Chuan Xinlo, so how could he appear here? Ning Cheng quickly felt that something was wrong. Gua Sanggen's face was expressionless, as if he did not have any thoughts at all. He only floated on the bridge of helplessness for a while before he slowly drifted to the other side of the bridge of helplessness and disappeared without a trace. Ning Cheng, who was holding the Nirvana spear in his hand, felt sluggish. What was going on? Was there really an underworld? The other side of the bridge of helplessness was the underworld? Dead people would go to the underworld? Didn't this mean that as long as he crossed the bridge of helplessness, he would be able to find the souls of his acquaintances? Thinking of this, Ning Cheng felt a little excited. Since he had cultivated to the life and death realm, he would never be scared off by something like this. Not to mention that there was not only Grey Tutut's aura on the other side of the futility bridge, but also the souls of other acquaintances. Ning Cheng took a deep breath, calming his mood down, and once again took a few steps forward. When Ning Cheng walked to a distance of almost 10 feet, a powerful nether wind swept over. This kind of nether wind was not only powerful but also very violent. The nether winds above Ning Cheng's head formed a substantial nether wind vortex, which directly covered Ning Cheng. This nether wind vortex was even more powerful than the one on the public square. If not for Ning Cheng, but an ordinary eternal cultivator, they would have already been swept away by this powerful nether wind. Ning Cheng crazily stimulated his everlasting blue thunder fort to block the wave after wave of nether wind vortexes sweeping over. If not for the blue thunder fort, Ning Cheng estimated that he would not have lasted this long. However, even if he had the blue thunder fort, it was not a solution right now. Being swept up by the horrifying nether wind on the bridge of helplessness, he could neither advance nor retreat. If he stayed here for too long, he would eventually be swept away by this nether wind. It was just a matter of time, unless he entered the mysterious yellow bead. Seeing Gua Sanggen's dead and unconscious life essence, Ning Cheng naturally did not want to be swept away by the nether wind. Although the everlasting blue thunder fort continued to compress, Ning Cheng still continued to drive his spiritual consciousness to support the blue thunder fort. Ka! A slight sound emerged, and Ning Cheng felt a sharp pain in his sea of consciousness. He immediately felt shocked and cried out in his heart. Most likely, he had forcibly driven his spiritual consciousness, causing his sea of consciousness to crack. If his sea of consciousness ended up destroyed, then he would truly be finished. However, Ning Cheng soon felt pleasantly surprised. His sea of consciousness did not crack, but after reaching its limit, it once again expanded outwards. Although his spiritual consciousness was severely compressed in this place, after his sea of consciousness expanded outwards, his spiritual consciousness still grew several times more powerful. After his sea of consciousness expanded outwards, everything around him became clear. The everlasting blue thunder fort did not require him to go all out, and once again expanded to a range of nearly 10 feet. After the nether wind swept over, the everlasting blue thunder fort directly blew it away. Ning Cheng felt slightly relieved. The increase in the strength of his sea of consciousness, for him, meant that his strength had doubled. Previously, when he used Sunset's Twilight to deal with Chuan Xinluo, he could not injure Chuan Xinluo even more. One of the main reasons was that his spiritual consciousness was not as strong as Chuan Xinluo's. Now that his sea of consciousness expanded, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out unscrupulously. The opposite side of the bridge of helplessness still could not be seen clearly. However, Ning Cheng could now clearly see the range of a few dozen feet in front of the bridge of helplessness. When Ning Cheng saw a black stoneman in the middle of the bridge of helplessness holding Grey Tut in one hand, and Grey Tutut's 4 feet seemed to be struggling, he immediately became furious. He rushed up without hesitation and shot out with his Nirvana spear. Boom! Ning Cheng's Nirvana spear had not yet reached the stoneman when a black nether wind condensed and struck Ning Cheng's Nirvana spear. A powerful backlash erupted, and Ning Cheng, who was standing on the bridge of helplessness, was blasted away. The everlasting blue thunder fort, which had expanded to more than 10 feet, also shrank to a radius of 10 feet because of this backlash. Seeing that he was about to fall into the blood river, Ning Cheng quickly stimulated his twin wings of heavenly fate and forcibly landed on the edge of the bridge of helplessness. At this moment, Ning Cheng felt secretly horrified. If not for the advancement of his sea of consciousness, the backlash would have caused him to fall into the blood river. However, Grey Toot Toot was on the bridge of helplessness, caught by the Black Stoneman. How could he let Grey Toot Toot stay here? Ning Cheng once again rushed onto the bridge of helplessness and shot out with his spear. Boom! An even more powerful backlash erupted. This time, Ning Cheng was prepared for it. Although he suffered another injury, he did not fall into the blood river. When he walked onto the bridge of helplessness for the third time, Ning Cheng felt a little flustered. He thought that he could fight against a heavenly emperor, but in this place, he couldn't even break through a stoneman that had caught Grey Toot Toot. Facing this stoneman again, Ning Cheng gripped his Nirvana spear and started to burn his essence blood. Grey Toot Toot had completely lost its spirit, and its head was drooping. Apart from a faint aura, Ning Cheng couldn't tell if it was dead or alive. If he didn't bring Grey Toot Toot back soon, Grey Toot Toot might have really died. As Ning Cheng crazily gathered his celestial essence, his spiritual consciousness tried to break free from the surrounding shackles. At this time, Ning Cheng's body had already formed a circle of celestial essence ripples. Even the everlasting blue thunder fort trembled at this moment. Thunder light automatically overflowed, blowing away the surrounding nether winds. Celestial essence solidified, and with the help of the everlasting blue thunder fort, Ning Cheng once again shot out with his Nirvana spear. Boom! Catcha! The nether winds condensed in front of the Black Stoneman struck Ning Cheng's Nirvana spear, causing a loud explosion. This time, Ning Cheng did not fly back. The Nirvana spear struck the stoneman's body. After the stoneman exploded, Ning Cheng immediately tried to grab Grey Toot Toot. A nether wind, as if it had a consciousness of its own, rolled up Grey Toot Toot, and disappeared on the other side of the futility bridge. Ning Cheng's body started to weaken, and a more violent nether wind came from the other side of the futility bridge, directly bombarding Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder fort. In just a few breaths, Ning Cheng was blasted back. Standing on the futility bridge for the fourth time, Ning Cheng used the Nirvana spear to support his body, while anger flared up in his eyes. The last time, he could feel that it was not a natural counterattack, but a conscious counterattack. This prevented him from taking away Grey Toot Toot, and even caused him to sustain heavy injuries. Unwilling to give up, Ning Cheng continued to walk across the futility bridge. When he reached the place where the stoneman was, he only saw a pile of rubble. Apart from that, there was nothing else, not even a shadow of Grey Toot Toot. Ning Cheng deliberately stopped, but even after waiting for a long time, he could not sense Grey Toot Toot's aura. Ning Cheng had just stepped over the pile of rubble and took a step forward when an even more horrifying nether wind swept over. This time, Ning Cheng could barely resist and was blasted back to the bridgehead. The backlash from the everlasting blue thunder fort was too great, causing Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness to ache once again. This time, he finally could not bear it and spat out a mouthful of blood. If not for the fact that he still had some strength, he would have been thrown into the blood river just now. Standing at the bridgehead of the futility bridge, Ning Cheng wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, while blue veins popped up on his hands. Someone definitely controlled it, otherwise, it would be impossible. After knowing that the other side of the futility bridge might lead to the underworld, Ning Cheng even felt a little excited. He wondered if he could find Sun Hanrui and Yu Qing. But now it seemed that he was naive. With his strength, not to mention finding Yu Qing and Sun Hanrui, he couldn't even walk across the futility bridge. If not for his spiritual consciousness being too powerful, he would have already fallen into the blood river due to the nether wind. If Ning Cheng dared to come down from the dark yellow spring pond with the help of the everlasting blue thunder fort. But as for the blood river, Ning Cheng did not dare to go down. He had a hunch that once he went down into the blood river, even if his everlasting blue thunder fort was more powerful, the Yin Chi would turn him into a pile of bones in an instant. Offending the Yin soldiers, the crime is punishable by death. Jump into the blood river, never to reincarnate. A hollow voice resounded in Ning Cheng's mind, causing Ning Cheng's mind to go blank for an instant. He even walked towards the blood river, as if he should follow the instructions of the voice and jump into the blood river. Then at the cost of never to reincarnate, he would wash away his guilt. No, Ning Qing stopped at the blood river. As the mysterious yellow aura scoured his spiritual soul and sea of consciousness, he immediately sobered up. Just now, he had almost been affected by this sound. Sure enough, someone was behind this, otherwise, it would be impossible for him to do such a thing. Ning Qing took in a deep breath and looked at the other side of the futility bridge before speaking up in a cold voice, "I will come back. After I come back, I will give you 10 times the treatment." After saying that, Ning Qing quickly retreated. He knew that with his current strength, he couldn't do anything here. Chapter 744. At the same time as Ning Qing retreated, a cold snort arrived. Even with Ning Cheng's cultivation, he still felt his mind shake. The next moment, wave after wave of nether winds assaulted him, causing Ning Cheng's life essence to loosen up, as if the next moment it would break free from his body. If not for the mysterious yellow origin constantly nourishing Ning Cheng's body and spiritual soul, Ning Cheng estimated that he would not have been able to persist for a long time. Ning Cheng's only thought at this moment was to crazily stimulate his celestial essence to rush towards the surface of the yellow spring pond. He had a premonition that if he delayed for even a moment, he might not be able to escape. An even more powerful cold snort resounded in Ning Cheng's mind, as a penetrating hollow voice sounded out from behind Ning Cheng, "You want to leave after taking my things?" After this voice, the winds and clouds above the bridge of coping suddenly changed. Waves after waves of chilly wind swept over. The nether wind hadn't even reached Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder fort when it caused the black water in the yellow spring pond to churn. Ning Cheng ignored it and continued to crazily burn his celestial essence to rush upwards. This time, Ning Cheng's speed of rushing upwards was much faster than when he dived to the bottom of the yellow spring pond. After he rushed out of the yellow spring pond, the black water in the yellow spring pond started to churn, and the roaring sounds grew more and more intense. Ning Cheng did not even look back, as he directly rushed towards the paper door. He did not rush into the gate of life or the gate of death. He felt that there was something wrong with both the gates of life and death. If his sea of consciousness hadn't expanded and advanced, he might have chosen to charge through the death gate. Now that his sea of consciousness had expanded and his spiritual consciousness had skyrocketed, he wanted to use the twin wings of the heavenly clouds to return to the main hall once again. Returning to the main hall was the safest path. Ning Cheng had just rushed out of the yellow spring pond when dozens of violent nether winds rushed out of the yellow spring pond. These nether winds rolled up the black water in the yellow spring pond hundreds of feet high before blasting towards Ning Cheng's back. Fortunately, Ning Cheng reacted quickly. By the time the nether wind from the bottom of the yellow spring pond reached the paper door, Ning Cheng had already rushed to the public square. The paper door rattled even louder as it was struck by the horrifying Yin wind. Soon, these raging nether winds rolled up the paper door to one side, before sweeping towards Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng did not stop at all. After he rushed to the public square, he immediately stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds. However, after Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness surged, he activated his twin wings of heavenly fate and flew out of the square. Bang! Several nether winds wrapped around Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder fort, causing the thunder radiance of the everlasting blue thunder fort to dim down in an instant. Then a series of ka-ka sounds emerged, as Ning Cheng's rising figure quickly fell back down. Ning Cheng knew that he absolutely could not land on this dark public square again. Therefore, he simply put away the everlasting blue thunder city and desperately stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly fate. Without the consumption of the everlasting blue thunder city, Ning Cheng's speed once again rose by a notch. After a dozen breaths, Ning Cheng could see the pentagonal hall above his head. Right at this moment, another gust of chilly wind swept over. Ning Cheng had already put away the everlasting blue thunder fort. Therefore, this nether wind directly tore through Ning Cheng's domain and struck Ning Cheng's body. As Ning Cheng was hit by the cold wind, his whole body shivered. The next moment, his life essence was about to leave his body, while his spiritual consciousness and celestial essence also plummeted and rapidly weakened. Seeing that his life essence was about to leave his body and that he was about to fall down again, Ning Qing immediately grabbed a leaf from the rootless green bamboo, chewed it up, and swallowed it. His life essence, which was on the verge of dispersing, slowly stabilized, and the mysterious yellow origin aura started circulating even faster. Feeling the strengthening of his spiritual consciousness and celestial essence, Ning Qing desperately stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds. Just now, he had almost fallen down again. If not for the rootless green bamboo, he truly couldn't imagine what would have happened. No wonder the previous few eternal cultivators couldn't escape from this kind of nether wind. Boom! 2 more waves of nether wind blasted towards Ning Qing. Just as the 2 nether winds were about to wrap around Ning Cheng's ankles, Ning Qing rushed out and landed in a corner of the pentagonal hall. Not waiting for the nether wind to reach him, Ning Qing rushed out of the pentagonal hall without even looking back. The nether wind seemed to have reached the entrance of the pentagonal hall before getting blocked by an invisible force. Nevertheless, Ning Qing did not dare to relax. He kept throwing out array flags, sealing the pentagonal hall layer by layer. Half a day later, Ning Qing completely sealed off the pentagonal hall before sitting down weakly on the ground. As the nether wind swept past him, he felt himself growing weaker and weaker. As for how Grey Toot Toot managed to get to the coping bridge, Ning Qing still couldn't figure it out. There must be someone behind the coping bridge, but Ning Qing didn't think that person could come out. If that person could come out, he wouldn't have escaped here so easily. Since that person couldn't come out, how did Grey Toot Toot get to the coping bridge? It was already the 39th day since Ning Qing came out of the ancient Shadow Temple. 39 days later, Ning Qing finally arranged the most powerful sealing array formation outside the ancient Shadow Temple. He had arranged this sealing array formation according to the requirements of the star-protecting Grand Array. Even for the array foundation, Ning Qing used a high-grade Dao artifact. Ning Qing had arranged the sealing array formation from the inside to the outside and had even arranged several layers of it. The terror of the ancient Shadow Temple left Ning Qing with lingering fear. Jiangzhou Star belonged to him, and Covered Snow City was his lair. He couldn't let this kind of danger exist. Although he didn't want to move the mysterious yellow sect away, Ning Qing believed that his sealing array would be more than enough. Even if something happened to the ancient Shadow Temple, he would immediately know about it. Under such a powerful sealing array, even Chuan Xinlo wouldn't be able to come out easily. Because Ning Qing felt extremely weak when he came out of the ancient Shadow Temple. Moreover, after arranging the array here for more than a month, he looked even weaker at this moment. Fortunately, this was Jiangzhou Star. As long as he walked a little more, he could return to Covered Snow City to heal. Ning Qing had just walked to the gate of Covered Snow City when he saw Ning Rulan running out in a hurry. "Rulan, what's the matter?" Ning Qing called out in confusion. "Brother." Ning Rulan immediately showed a happy expression on her face when she saw Ning Qing. She immediately rushed over and rushed into Ning Qing's arms. "Woo! You scared me to death. I thought you wouldn't come back." Ning Qing patted Ning Rulan on the shoulder and comforted her. "Rulan, what the hell is going on?" Seeing Ning Rulan, Ning Qing felt very happy. Rulan had already reached the celestial Shatterer realm after going into seclusion for some time. From this, it could be seen that with the support of a lot of cultivation resources, Rulan's cultivation speed had increased by leaps and bounds. Ruolan finally calmed down, but still spoke up with some lingering fear. According to the rumors outside, nearly 20 eternal-level experts went to the ancient Shadow Temple, but none of them came out. All of them died in the ancient Shadow Temple. When I heard the news, I immediately felt anxious and wanted to find you. Ning Qing frowned. Even if none of the people who entered the ancient Shadow Temple came out, how did this news spread? It stood to reason that they had entered the ancient Shadow Temple for less than 2 months. Even if an eternal powerhouse didn't appear for 2 years, no one would spread rumors about him dying. But Ning Qing knew that if he hadn't returned the way he came, this rumor might have been true. Was he the only person who came out after entering the ancient Shadow Temple? "Brother, it's good that you're all right. It means that those rumors are false." Ning Rulan spoke with a relaxed tone. Ning Cheng looked at Ning Rulan cautiously. Rulan, remember, if you hear such rumors in the future, don't believe them. Think about it, if I died in the ancient Shadow Temple, what's the use of you going in? Ning Rulan also knew that Ning Cheng was right and nodded. I know, brother. Do you still want to go out this time? Well, I have to go out to take care of some things. I haven't heard from your sister-in-law Luofei and sister-in-law Cheonghua yet. Also, I have to go to Culmination Starry Sky. Rulan, when I'm not around, you must work hard in seclusion. Put everything else aside, as long as your own strength is strong enough, that is the hard truth. Ning Cheng exhorted. Ning Rulan nodded and stopped talking. She knew that the gap between her strength and her big brother's was getting bigger and bigger. If she didn't work hard in cultivation, she would only drag her big brother down in the future. By the way, a person named Duan Gantai came to Stately River Star to look for you. Sect Master Tsang stopped him outside and didn't allow him to enter Stately River Star. Just as Ning Rulan finished speaking, Tsang Tsaiha came out with several people following behind Tsang Tsaiha. Sect Master. Tsang Tsaiha also felt happy when he saw Ning Cheng. There were rumors that none of the eternal powerhouses who entered the ancient Shadow Temple had come out, but Tsang Tsaiha believed it. As an eternal powerhouse, he could more or less sense eternal cultivators. What's more, how could he not know that the ancient Shadow Temple was located in Stately River Star? Ning Cheng quickly spoke up. Sect Master Tsang has worked hard while I was away. Greetings, Senior Ning. Two heaven-seated cultivators came forward and bowed to Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng nodded. One of the two was O Jinkong, the one he had placed a restriction on. From the looks of it, the restriction must have been forcibly sealed. If he hadn't appeared, O Jinkong would have been in grave danger. Senior, this is my uncle O Xingshang. My uncle sent me and Dao friend Warren to Stately River Star. O Jinkong couldn't contain the excitement in his heart after seeing Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng had placed a restriction on him, which he couldn't remove. If Ning Cheng really fell in the ancient Shadow Temple, he could only accept his fate. Mysterious Yellow Sect's Deputy Sect Master Tsang Tsaiha was not only the premier Pill Emperor but also a late-stage eternal powerhouse. Even without Ning Cheng, his O clan couldn't afford to offend him. Greetings, Sect Master. Warren and Yuanchua had long wanted to come up and greet him, but Ning Cheng had been talking to someone else. It could be said that Ning Cheng had saved the two of them. Without Ning Cheng, they would have died a long time ago. Although everyone treated them politely after they arrived at Covered Snow City. Before meeting Ning Cheng, they had always felt some knots in their hearts. Ning Cheng chuckled, we're all friends, so there's no need to be so polite. What do you two plan to do in the future? Warren and Yuanchua quickly spoke up. Sect Master, we want to join the mysterious Yellow Sect. Ning Cheng directly took out 2 jade bottles and handed them to the two before saying, these are Accordance Heavenly Pills. Go into seclusion and prepare to advance to the heaven-seated realm. After you advance to the heaven-seated realm, you will become elders of the mysterious Yellow Sect. If Warren and Yuanchua didn't intend to join the mysterious Yellow Sect, Ning Cheng would have politely entertained them and then sent them away. However, he would never take out the Accordance Heavenly Pills. His Accordance Heavenly Pills weren't something that came out of nowhere. Although they vaguely knew that Ning Cheng might want to cultivate them, Warren and Yuanchua still couldn't contain their excitement when they received the Accordance Heavenly Pills. They had been rogue cultivators for their entire lives and had taken countless risks, but they might not even get a single Accordance Heavenly Pill. Cultivating within the starry sky truly required opportunities.